Welcome to the Kaizorian experience. Over here, we're going to be talking about everything African. We're going to be having debates, discussions, entertainment, as well as learning about business, art, history, and everything in between. Cultural, tribalism, and everything. We're going to be out here debating with some really interesting stuff. So, like the video, share the video, and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Subscribe for the best experience ever. This is the biggest channel on the Afrosphere. So come and join the team, become a Kaizorian, and join the Kaizorian Empire. Universally exist within myself, within this premise, and I exist within this bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like the blue in the sky. I'ma fly like bird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma throw my bluebird in the sky. I'ma soar like bluebird in the sky. I'ma soar like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fight like bluebird in the sky. I'ma eat like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be bluebird in the sky. I'ma be free, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be free like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Back again like the second coming. Strumming my vocal cords like the hummingbird in the sky. Y'all can't deny this. Real rap lyrics, it's like I ain't got no rhyming through the sky limit. What is skin tone, shade of color, but a parallel form of frequency like a ringtone on your phone. Melanin expression, tied up in the universe, feeling like God's. Is this really us? Is it serious? Is it really wrong to be diverse? Am I diverge and immerse myself like an ocean beneath this waves? Be a divergent, born to be different. Indigo child, wild like canary, born to be a bluebird in the sky, flying high like a bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. Yeah, bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Everybody scream bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Yeah, bluebird in the sky. Everybody, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like born black, sweet like a berry. Flying high like a canary. Scary with my hoodie on. Hating on my vibe on the street that you'll be feeling my frequency in the song. But I know that I ain't never ever gonna be ever the same. But I know. What's good? What's good? What's good, everyone? Today we're going to be analyzing a video by none other than TLDR over here on this ensuing brewing war between Hamas and the Israeli government. And of course, you guys can take whichever side you want. If you want to take the more Islamic side because you affiliate with the Muslims, take it. If you think it's more of a geopolitical issue about nationhood and coming up and having peace structure within the communities, hey, that's also a viable option for you as well, right? So we're going to start by analyzing this video, then we will see where we go.
By Incogni, and entered a handful of Israeli communities, broke through the fence surrounding the Gaza Strip. Over the weekend, Hamas militants broke through the fence surrounding the Gaza Strip and entered a handful of Israeli communities near the Israel-Gaza border, killing and kidnapping hundreds of Israelis. It's hard to overstate quite how unprecedented this is. Saturday was probably the bloodiest day in all of Israeli history.
Yep, one of the bloodiest days, actually. But, we want to first start by trying to do a deep dive on what is Israel? What is Palestine? Because Palestine is actually one of the officially recognized states in the world. Right, Palestine actually is. Let's begin the deep dive by analyzing. What exactly is a nation state? Where does Palestine lie? Is it actually an official state recognized by United Nations or other bodies, etc.? Is it recognized by its neighbors? Right, because a lot of people probably do wonder, well, what is Israel? What is Palestine? Are they not the same country? Do they not share the same landmass? Well, let's try to understand that. So we're sharing a map. Sorry, the quality isn't great. The map, as you can see on the title, Palestinian loses a loss of land since 1946 or 47 till present.
Now, if you look at that whole area, right, that dark area, that's Palestine. So if you look at that whole landmass of what is now known as modern Israel, 1947, this is before the Israelis took control, right? In 1948, where the land was actually given um, to Israel. You can see its occupation of that land is mostly by Israel's. Now, the Jewish, there's a white areas there. That's the land that was occupied by Jewish people. You go down later on in 1947, you start seeing now Israel starts becoming its own state, taking on several different factions of the land there and controlling it. And of course, as time goes by, you keep seeing the Palestinians being sort of segregated or separated from the rest of the state into minute areas. Now you can see there, right? You can see that Palestinians still maintain around Gaza area, and then also kind of distributed within the main landmass of what is known as Israel. So realistically, Palestine doesn't really exist compared to what it was back in the days. So I just want to start there, right? So Palestinians, or Hamas, right? The West calls them a terrorist organization. Hamas calls itself a freedom fighting organization, fighting for the freedom and rights of its own populations, right? So as you can see there, Palestine was the majority of that landmass. Now it is a very small area and they have lost a lot of ground. So what's going on here? Let's see what this means and let's analyze to see what this will impact Black or African nations or people at all. So yeah, we'll start again. Let's get it.
To you by Incogni. Over the weekend, Hamas militants broke through the fence surrounding the Gaza Strip and entered a handful of Israeli communities.
Okay, so as you can see, right, we just showed the map earlier of Israel and Palestine. So the Gaza Strip over there, right, that is a heavily disputed land between the Israelis and obviously the Palestinians. Then you have the Gaza, right? So they broke through from the other side through one of the fences in the Gaza Strip into Israel, right? So that's what sparked this whole situation. It apparently happened on 7th on Saturday. That's when this whole war kind of spiraled and became a real thing.
Near the Israel-Gaza border, killing and kidnapping hundreds of Israelis. It's hard to overstate quite how unprecedented this is. Saturday was probably the bloodiest day in all of Israeli history.
Right. So if we read some of the headlines, Hamas has taken a risk with its largest ever military blow to Israel. Yeah, Walaj. The guerrilla movement that rules Gaza, right, may be alarming. As you can see bombs there taking place. Was Hamas's attack on Saturday the bloodiest day for Jews since the Holocaust? Bloodiest, no, I don't think you can relate them, right? One is claiming millions, the other one is claiming hundreds. So I don't think that's an appropriate title, to be honest.
And the fact that over 100 Israelis have been kidnapped means a massive response from the Israeli military is inevitable. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what happened over the weekend, why it really is completely unprecedented, and what might happen next. 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, the Palestinian militant group Hamas fired a series of missiles and mortars into Israel. This in and of itself wasn't that unusual. Missile attacks are pretty common around Gaza, and most of them were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. But it was followed by a ground assault from Hamas militants, who quickly broke through the...
Yeah, so this is another thing, and I want to add some analysis here, right? Because usually we have a lot of African types people. They say things like, we need 1 million men, okay, for defense. Okay, so what's 1 million men going to do against missiles? Well, they're going to die, right? That's what happens when you fight against technology, right? So instead of these Africans saying we need security, and then say also we need to do research and put intelligent people to figure out the best solutions for security, they think that just by employing more men is a solution. So as you can see here, Israel has an Iron Dome, right? This Iron Dome is a mixture of electromagnetic defense systems as well as missile targeting systems that can be able to handle, right, destruction of missiles before they reach its population. So really, Africa needs to be able to have military technology that can defend itself, right? The amount of men that would obviously depend on the terrain, the environment that you're in. If you are in a navy, it would depend on the specifics. But the main key factor here is by having technology that can actually prevent, for example, missiles from reaching a population. That's here nor there. I'm just saying that shout out to Israel for actually even having this Iron Dome as a claim, right? That's able to anticipate missile attacks and then react to it appropriately by detonating them before they reach, or disarming them in various different means before they reach the population.
Fence that separates the Gaza Strip from southern Israel. The militants then entered a handful of Israeli settlements, including Sderot, a town with a population of around 30,000 people that lies just 1 kilometre from the Gaza Strip. Militants quickly took control of the police station, and footage posted to social media showed civilians being killed and kidnapped in the town. In their initial push, Hamas militants reached more than 20 miles into Israel.
Okay, so shout out to us, right? So this is a map over here stating areas under current Hamas control. The data is there as of just a couple days ago, right? The Gaza Strip, as you can see, is there, right? So then you have areas under Hamas control. You can see in the other color, and then the rest is so-called Israel. Now, the thing here is kind of interesting, right? They call it Hamas. Now, Hamas, again, as I stated, Hamas claims it's there to protect its civilians. And that most likely is the case, right? The same way the Israeli government is saying it's claiming to protect its civilians.
And got inside at least 4 military bases, causing hundreds of casualties and seizing a significant amount of Israeli military material. It's hard to overstate quite how unprecedented this is. While it can sometimes feel like Israel is a permanent war zone, most of the humanitarian damage incurred in the region is from rockets or isolated incidents. This was completely different. It was a massive, coordinated, combined arms assault.
Yeah, it's different in the sense that it was effective, right? Because usually, as I stated, Israel and Hamas have been going back and forth for the last 12 years, right? This is from at least my knowledge. It could be longer, right? But I remember when I was growing up, hearing about this skirmishes, fighting over the Gaza Strip, going on for at least a decade and a little bit more. So what happened previously is, people send rockets over, and then some anticipated rockets, some rockets land in some areas. But this was actually a coordinated attack that worked in the sense that they had military intelligence. They were able to execute it accurately and fastly, and be able to actually get the results. And that's why it's unprecedented, right? It influenced the reality over there that's going on,
including armoured vehicles, drones, and even a failed sea-based assault on Israel's west coast. This is the first time Israel has lost control of a significant part of its territory since probably the 1973 Yom Kippur War. But even then, most of the fighting occurred in the Sinai Peninsula and Golan Heights, which were both occupied by Israel but not considered part of Israel proper. This time, not only did Hamas forces get inside Israel, but the breach was so severe that even civilians from Gaza were able to get in, and there were reports that some Israelis have been kidnapped not by militants, but by Palestinian civilians. Planning such a...
Even the Palestinian civilians have had enough, right? Living in a country, as I showed the map earlier that showed the descent into the loss of territory. You can clearly see that these people lost the land, the Palestinians. So it looks like even the citizens are supporting Hamas because, well, Hamas wants to give back the land to its Palestinians, right? So as we stated, right, 1940s, before 1948, majority of that land was Palestinian land, and some of it was land by Jewish settlers. As you can see, the white areas is by Jewish settlers, right? The rest of the area is Palestinians' land. You go there, then you look into just a little bit after when the negotiations for Israel, right, and the relocation of Jews into the promised homeland, you can see the white area, that's Israel taking control. At this point, you can see Israel still has majority of the landmass, but there's still a sizable Palestinian controlled area. As the time goes by, even 1957, it's majority Israel by much larger percentage. And then presently, as you can see, the presence of Palestine is almost non-existent. You just see it like around Gaza and kind of separated inside Israel. So, of course, these people want their land back, right? They believe that's the land of their ancestors. I'm talking about the Palestinians and the Jews, or no, the Israelis believe that this is their land, right? They believe that this is the land promised to them by God. Devastating for you. Shout out to finally some non-biased war coverage. Shout out to, yes, we'll try to just get the information, give it out to people, and then they will decide what to do with the information. Shout out to you over there. So the facts are there, right? The land was actually Palestinian land. It's there, right? The map's there. There's information. This is not a disputed effect. Israel was given to the Israelis because the Zionists. It's an ideological concept. They believe that the Jews deserve a homeland. Now, they actually tried to give this homeland to Wangaland, right? And I'll give you the evidence there. I'll show you even from the Israelis' website. So Wangaland was actually designed to be to be Israel. However, the Zionists claim that no, it wasn't good enough because they wanted the ancestral home. What they claim is ancestral home. So let me show you this for a second. And this is what happened initially. So imagine if, right, um, they had been given this piece of land in Kenya, we may be having similar skirmishes over land, ancestral rights, and all those kinds of stuff. Now, the interesting thing, in fact, let me just find the Kenya's Embassy of Israel so that we can see the information from a actual source. I can read a research paper, but that would be long, and people wouldn't really want to deep dive into a research paper. But I'm reading information from the actual embassy, right? This will at least have certain relevant information that we can see at. So, sharing my screen right now, as you can see, Tel Aviv, Embassy of Republic of Kenya in Israel. Now, if you read the statements here, right, Kenya Israel relations. Let me just make the piece bigger so that we can all see what's going on over here. Okay, so let's read from the beginning. Bilateral relationships between Kenya and Israel can be traced way back over centuries when, in August 1903, the then British colonial secretary Joseph Chamberlain offered, right? So we're just giving the history of why there is even skirmishes between Israel and Hamas, but it starts here, right? This is at least where we're choosing to start from. Offered the Zionists a part of Kenyan territory through the edict called the Uganda Scheme. See, at this point in time, Uganda and Kenya were both part of the same so-called uh, colonized, administrated areas called the British East Africa. So it is part of modern-day Kenya, but at that time, it may have been, considered Uganda. So edict called the Uganda Scheme for their autonomous state, right, creating a whole country by giving them Kenyan land at the Sixth Zionist Congress. Now, as a state, Zionism is an ideology, right? There are leaders within the Zionist state. It's an ideology that they want to create uh, a space for other Jews, etc. So there was Congress, right, for the autonomous state of the Sixth Zionist Congress. Although this then suggestion created much controversy amongst the international Jewish community because they already wanted Israel, right, or rather Palestine, because there was no Israel yet at this time, right? This is 1903. And was subsequently rejected at the Seventh Zionist Congress. So it was actually rejected by the Zionists, saying, well, this is nice that you give us a country, but we really want our ancestral home, Israel. Right, in 1905, several Jewish families immigrated to Kenya, culminating in buildings of a Jewish synagogue in Nairobi in 1913. Jewish settlement in Kenya therefore began in the early 1900s. At the moment, several hundreds Kenyan Jewish origin live and call Kenya first home. So, of course, the idea started culminating. It started getting into the spirits of people, and people were seeing this as a possible, real way. However, it was rejected. Let's go here, right? When the British set up a detention camp in Gilgit, a town in Kenya Rift Valley, in March 1947, in order to hold captured members of the Urgun and Lehi Jewish underground organization deported from Palestine. So this is when they were actually fighting already, trying to take over Israel, Palestine, right? It was the Jewish community who had immigrated a few years in Kenya who took care of these prisoners, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that initially Kenyan land territory, right, specifically in Western Kenya, Wangaland was offered um, to the Zionists to set up states and a nationhood, but it was rejected. Right? They said that it was rejected and it was not allowed over there, etc. So, anyways, let's go back to the video. Just wanted to give a bit of background of how Israel became a Zionist state, or rather, Palestine lost its land and then subsequently became a Zionist state, right? And that is obviously why they're fighting for it. Palestine wants their land back. That's a fact, right? There's no argument there. There's no feeling. There's no perspective. We've shown the land and ownership. We've seen that there was no such thing as Israel. The Zionists lobbied for land to be given to them. They were offered Kenyan land. They refused Kenyan land, and they lobbied for Palestine until the British and the Americans helped them establish the Zionist state, a state that was independent and ruled and owned by Jewish people. That's it. 1947 is mostly Palestine. Today, it's mostly Israel with small settlements of Palestinians and Gaza, right? Just wanted to give that basic background. Guys, is it funny how the British Empire created 90% of the countries in the Middle East? These fake holy lands that people around the world worship, especially Saudi Arabia, all created by the British. 100%, 100%. There's a lot of irony there.
Taken months, and the fact that Mossad, Israel's intelligence services, had no foreknowledge is a massive embarrassment. Another way of illustrating quite how extraordinary this is to look at the numbers. Over the weekend, at least 700 Israelis have been killed and another 130 kidnapped.
Now, this is just me adding my own interpretation here. But the idea that Mossad had no information at all doesn't sound believable to me, right? This is just my own analysis. What's more likely to me, and this might sound conspiratorial, but it's just my analysis, is that Mossad knew about it. Mossad allowed it to happen so that the country can officially declare war against Hamas, right? Because at the end of the day, right, Israel still has to maintain a certain relationship with the international powers, right, within United Nations and other spheres. So if Israel allows this to happen, they have the so-called right to go and not be seen as the aggressor and have the moral high ground in international eyes. So that's just my own interpretation there. I'm not saying it's true. I don't have evidence, don't have proof. But to me, Mossad is one of the most highly trained military, information operational communities or other groups in the world. So the fact that this just happened and they had no idea, especially when it involves civilians, the moment you start involving civilians, these are untrained people, information leaks, etc. So I don't fully believe that Mossad didn't have any idea that this happened. I believe, this is just my own interpretation, that they may have known, they may have allowed it to take part, at least so that Israel can claim some kind of moral superiority. That's just my interpretation. A devastating for you says it's up to 1,500 dead now. That's a lot of people. So this war is not going to end anytime soon, right? Because Israel can say, hey,
is to look at the numbers.
That's a lot of people.
Over the weekend, at least 700 Israelis have been killed and another 130 kidnapped. The only other time a similar number of Israeli civilians have been killed in such a short space of time was the First Arab-Israeli War in 1948. And more Israelis were killed on Saturday than probably on any.
It's kind of crazy, right? They're just calling, Arab-Israeli war. The reality here is that they went into another sovereign nation, right? Palestine, or I guess at that time, obviously colonized by Britain, and then they declared war in order to take it. They also had a war with Egypt because Egypt didn't like the idea of obviously people coming in from Europe and claiming that land as theirs, and again for Egyptian security, etc. It was called the 6-Day War that occurred between Israel and Egypt. So this whole situation here is basically characterized by a group of people that were lost their land, another group of people that believe this is their ancestral land from the ancient times, aka Israel. But Israel hasn't been a state since thousands of years ago. Properly, it was occupied by the Ottomans, occupied by the British, and occupied by whole different sorts of powers through and through. So this whole situation here, as you can see, is characterized by colonialism, post-colonialism, and of course now neo-colonialism under the Israelis.
Other day since Israel's declaration of statehood that year. The number of hostages is also unprecedented, and perhaps the most significant element of this conflict. Hamas have captured Israelis in the past, but usually just one or two, and they've provoked massive reactions from Israel. In 2006, for example, Hamas captured a young Israeli conscript called Galid Shalit during a cross-border raid, which provoked a barrage of missiles and a ground invasion. Shalit was only released in 2011 in a prisoner exchange involving the release of over 1,000 Palestinians, including hundreds serving life sentences for attacks on Israelis. The fact that literally hundreds of Israelis have been taken capture this time round bodes really, really badly. And to make matters worse, Hamas officials told the Wall Street Journal that both non-Hamas...
Yep, let's read that, right? Greg Karlstrom, a Hamas official, Egyptian officials told WSJ that the Palestinian group had lost contact with some of the militants holding hostages, and civilians also had participated in taking hostages. It's kind of interesting here, right? It looks like Hamas and the Palestinians in general have learned the ways of the colonizers, right? Because in this case, Israel is the colonizer, right? That's the actual reality, right? They've taken a piece of land, they've occupied it. So they've learned the ways of the colonizer, and they themselves have learned the tactics, and they're using the same operational tactics. I just find it interesting that it succeeded over there, and this whole guerrilla warfare, fighting for freedom. We've seen this in Africa before. This is nothing new. We've seen it in other parts of the world, etc. Right? We've seen the Mau Mau rebellion in Kenya, where the various Kenyan tribes like Kikuyus fought against the British who were occupying their land. As you know about colonialism, right? The British came in, specifically in this case in Kenya, took the lands of Kikuyu people, prime farming lands, then forced them to work in their lands in order to pay for their own board. So imagine someone comes to your country, makes you into a servant so that you can pay for your own rent in your own land. So more or less, something very similar here has occurred. Again, we'll just talk about the facts for the moment.
Militants and civilians had taken hostages, which makes hostage negotiations nearly impossible. There are two important pieces of context to consider here. First, while the Israeli-Palestine conflict stretches back decades, the most recent violence comes after about a year of sharply escalating tensions, which arguably began when Netanyahu's new right-wing government took office back in December. Because no one wanted to form a government.
Now, someone might ask, right? But Israel is racist. Israel practices things against Africans. He had movements where he wanted the Sudanese people to leave, right? So the Sudanese must go. They've had several different, seemingly racist protests against Black Africans. But there is a reason for this, right? It's not just simply they hate Africans, right? I'm sure that's part of it, but it's to do with their own security. Israel sees that African migrants might be more likely to sympathize with the Arabs because of proximity to religion and perhaps culture to the Arabs, right? Because let's say Sudanese migrants are Muslims, right? Some Eritrean migrants might be Muslims, some will be Christian, but still some will be Muslim. So when you have a large group of Africans coming into their country, they do feel insecure. And the reality here is that's the reason why there might be, having those sort of issues there, right? Israel feels that African migrants are a liability and that they might be sleeper cells, right? So let's say within the country, they could just be activated and join the enemy. So that's one reason why Israel is racist. Just one reason. There's also other reasons too.
With Netanyahu, while he was being prosecuted for corruption, he had to form a coalition with far-right Israeli nationalists, including perhaps most notably Itamar Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister. Netanyahu's far-right government has stepped up its support for illegal Israeli settlers in the West Bank, which has strained Israel-Palestine relations and taken a more hawkish position on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa is considered a holy site by both Jews and Muslims, but since Israel occupied East Jerusalem in the 60s, there's been an understanding that only Muslims are permitted to pray at the site. Ben-Gvir disagrees and has made a point of visiting the mosque in the past, and in April, fighting broke out at the mosque after Israeli security forces claimed that, quote, agitators had barricaded themselves inside. This escalation of tension, especially in the West Bank, has caused an uptick in violence, and 2023 was already on.
Well, Jeanette, no, we can't do that, right? We're all intelligent people here. Racism is part of it, but people don't just, operate under one lens or one dimension. They also do worry about their security. I'm giving it from their perspective, right? Black African migrants who are Muslims will more likely associate with the Arabs because they're also Muslim. That's just a fact. So it's more than one reason, right? Whenever you have people fighting for power, security, and control, there's multiple factors going on.
Track to be the bloodiest year for Israeli-Palestine violence since the Second Intifada entered in 2005. The second relevant piece of context is Israel's normalization effort with its other Arab neighbours, especially Saudi Arabia. For the past few months, Israel and Saudi Arabia have been negotiating a US-mediated normalization agreement, which would most likely involve Israel making some concessions to Palestine in exchange for diplomatic recognition from Saudi Arabia. This hasn't gone down well with Hamas, who worry that a normalization deal could undermine the maximalist aims of establishing an Islamic state in the area that is.
Let's stop the cap. Hamas is not just trying to establish an Islamic state, right? This is where we have to call out Western media. And shout out to TLDR, it gives good, accurate information. But of course, sometimes you can always see seepings of propaganda. Hamas's main goal is to establish Palestine, to establish a landmass that is somewhat similar to how it looked like in 1947 prior to Israeli occupation of Palestinian land. That is actually the main thing. This is not an Islamic thing. Hamas just happens to be supported by Muslims from other countries who want to establish the Islamic State, but Hamas is not really like, the main goal is Islamic State. No. Hamas is trying to create a state of Palestine to make it an actual country with a landmass that somewhat resembles the landmass in 1947. So this is where, Western media will say some truths in there and put in some mistruths as well. As a state, Hamas, yes, it is funded by certain Islamic donors because it has to get money somewhere. But the main goal is not really an Islamic state, right? That is a goal. The main goal is reestablishing Palestine that resembles Palestine in 1947 prior to Israeli occupation. Sub-Sahara says Israel is a democratic country in the entire Middle East. Okay. Tell us how originated in Africa. Okay. I don't know, man. I can't answer that question.
Now Israel, or Hamas's main backer, Iran, who worry that a deal could expand the Saudi-led anti-Iran alliance in the Middle East. Hamas and Iran will be hoping that this weekend's events will scupper any normalization effort by straining Arab-Israeli ties. So what happens next? Well, almost immediately after the incursion, Netanyahu declared war on Gaza, saying that Israel would make the enemy pay a tremendous price. Opposition politicians have offered to form a government of national unity, and reports suggest that many reserve troops participating in the protest movement against the Netanyahu government's judicial overhaul are returning to reserve duty. As of Monday morning, Israeli forces have pushed Hamas militants out of most of Israel, and Gaza is currently under non-stop bombardment. While Netanyahu has previously been wary of full-scale ground invasions, instead preferring to rely on airstrikes and special forces, US intelligence is currently reporting that it expects a ground invasion in the next 48 hours, and there have been reports of a large military buildup of Israeli forces.
Basically, like I mentioned earlier, right? This is just my analysis. I could be wrong. I could be terribly wrong, but my brain leads me to these contemplations. Mossad, right? The Israeli, military information system knew about these attempted invasion of Israeli lands by Hamas and some Palestinian civilians. That's one. Two, because they knew this, they allowed it to occur in a controlled manner. Yes, a lot of people did die, but that was also a necessary sacrifice for the government now to be able to declare full-out war against Palestine. So if then the Israeli government declares war, they are seen as not the aggressor, but rather the defender, right, of truth and democracy. So what that means is, right, Israel is now able to take on more land from the Palestinians by invading them, and they will still be seen by a lot of the world population as the good guys, right? So this is a geopolitical issue that has multiple actors, multiple powers playing and controlling things from different angles, and then we'll open it up to people to come and give commentary
Around Gaza, which all suggests a ground invasion is pretty much imminent. Whether the conflict becomes internationalised depends on how the ground invasion plays out. So far, while a couple of Arab countries have tacitly blamed Israel for provoking Hamas, and Hezbollah have threatened to escalate if Israel invades, few countries have shown much interest in getting properly involved. If, however, Israel's ground invasion ends up being a humanitarian catastrophe, which is very possible, we could see a stronger response from Palestine's allies.
It's not possible. That's literally the book, right? That's literally the playbook. It will be a humanitarian issue, right? Israel will come back and hit so-called Palestine hard and heavy-handed. This is not going to be a joke. Israel has the moral upper hand according to the international perception, right? Not even perspective. Forget perspective. Perspective is a different angle. Perception. The world perceives Israel as the non-aggressor in this case, but as the reaction.
A couple of years ago, Jack was the victim of identity theft, and he only found this out when he got a court letter saying that he owed...
Yeah, Sub-Saharan. I think perhaps you and I don't really know each other, right? I don't care about the mentalities of the Middle East. I don't care about the mentalities of the Israelis or the Jews. I care about presenting a fair and unbiased reportings about the facts, analysis of the logic of the situation. I don't play the same game as you. This is not a me versus Israel, me versus Palestine. I don't care about Palestine, and I definitely don't care about Israel. I'm giving a fair and unbiased reporting of the things that are happening. I'm not playing the same game of I choose a side based on tribalist affiliation. I choose the other side. That's not me, right? That's not what we do. So respect me, right? Would you respect me and don't say stupid comments on the chat? At the very least, respect me, okay? If that's the game you play it, but do not add me into that game, okay?
Money to a broadcast company for an address that he'd never lived at. Now, he's not alone either, with victims of data breaches rising by 41.5% in 2022. That data is then very often being added to commercial databases, with data brokers potentially aggregating your personal information.
Okay, shout out. IC3 Black, the war between Israel and Hamas. I don't know if you were here for the part of the presentation where I saw that they actually tried to take Wangaland in Kenya and give it to the Jews as their new homeland, but the Jews actually rejected it on the Seventh Zionist Congress. So what's going on here? Shout out to you. We show the map where actually Palestinian land was actually taken. This is all facts, right? We're not talking about some feelings or things. I'm not some dusty Igbo here talking about how Nigeria hates us. No, this is all to do with facts. So as you can see the map there, 1947 prior, right, or just around the Arab War, right, the Arab-Israeli War, you can see the land there, that all green, I believe. I'm colorblind, but that green area, that's Palestine. The white areas
Right.
is Jewish occupied land. You look at it modern day, it's almost all white,
Wow.
and it's kind of interesting how white is used to represent and the
Exactly.
Holy
That's
Spirit.
exactly what I was thinking. These people, they mock you in your face, you know. Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
100%. Your analysis is fantastic. Yeah, your analysis was bang on. That's exactly how I looked at the whole situation. You know, the art of war. You know, they to try and allow, encourage an attack, so that you have an excuse to do to retaliate with extra force, and then maybe take some extra land. I think that's what appears to me to be the strategy. Even looking at the map that you put up there, it shows you know a pattern of progress from a certain perspective. Yeah, so that would fit in with the your analysis. Um, yeah, I think that's, if I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying
Right.
correctly. Um, because I saw some videos. Somebody put some videos up where some military Jewish people, Israeli girls, were saying that they work for the military, and they said that they were working in the military, and that the security on that strip on the border is so tight. They were saying if there's a cat, if a cat is seen walking by the border, the whole system goes up, you know. And then somebody said if there's a cockroach moving,
Right.
that's what they were saying. And
Yeah,
it was
it's
translated, you
extremely
know.
tight security. The fact that they were just able to, bulldoze, literally, they put in bulldozers there and just come into it and
Oh yeah,
somehow just take over.
oh my
It doesn't
god,
make sense. So to me,
no way.
I believe this was definitely a Mossad led sort of operation that allowed there to happen in order for, for obviously Israel now to have the moral upground in order to react, right? Over there, we got someone
Yes,
called terrorist. Terrorist, can you please shut up so I know who you are over there, right? Oh no, never mind. I know you terrorist. So yeah, shout out, shout out. Yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting situation, right? Now it's kind of interesting how people, if you notice this, right? People want me to take sides. I don't take sides, right? I give you fair analysis. Then I'll give you my opinion afterwards, but I'll specify it very specifically. This is now my opinion. I'm not going to mix things up,
right. That's
right?
the
The
good
facts
way.
have to
That's
be
the
the
way.
facts. The analysis has to
Professional.
be the analysis. Exactly. You have to be a
That's right.
professional. You can't be out here. Oh, it's wrong what they're doing to these people. It's like, okay.
Yeah, but Kaizo, you should expect some terrorism to happen, right? Like, don't are you surprised about this? Like, are you surprised that
Which side is a
Palestinians are?
terrorist? Can you tell me which side is a terrorist?
No,
Good
no, no, no,
question.
no. I think they will say that the other people see this action as a different. They see them this action as liberating their people. You got to see different sides have a different view on things, and if you actually look at it, Palestine has like as much as recognition as Israel. Israel has 20 more countries recognize them over Israel. I mean, over Palestine. Palestine has like 140 countries recognizing them. And this is countries actually do recognize Palestine. You got to respect their sovereignty. And you can't
But
go
where is
in there.
Palestine? You see a map, brother? Where is Palestine? Show me where is
Uh,
Palestine. I don't see it on the map. All I'm seeing is
if you
Israel.
actually, yeah, but look,
Well,
you see,
in
when
that small strip there, Gaza, and like a few little satellite towns within Israel. Where's Palestine? A nation is
uh,
connected. A
it,
nation has
it,
has
the picture you
unity.
have
What's
the picture
going
you
on?
have in front of you explains the problem, under colonization. You see,
Hmm.
and the picture you see the first is actually where majority of the land are lived by Palestinians, and the Israelis live peace. And you see the Zionists come in I'm not even, I think you can be Zionist and you
Be
can be
good.
good. Yeah, you can be good, but I feel like you have to see the Palestinian interests as well. You can't forget about those people. Otherwise, you're just gonna
Sure,
see
but who is a
problems.
terrorist in this case? Right? You mentioned both sides can be terrorists depending on the perspective, but in this case, who's the terrorist? Is it Hamas
I
for being the first to land this blow, or is it Israel for having invaded and colonized Palestine? Who is the
technically
terrorist?
for their view, how the Palestinians, if you actually look at it, they're
From
getting
your
bombed.
perspective,
No, my
who is the
perspective,
terrorist?
uh, I don't think Palestinians are terrorists. They just are mad, and it's nothing to do. It's people who are frustrated and they blocked off from the
Right,
world
but
economy.
reasons don't remove a fact, right? So in this case, Hamas is a terrorist. They went in, they kidnapped civilians, they killed civilians, and they created havoc within a sovereign nation called Israel. So Hamas is a terrorist in this situation. You agree
Yeah,
with me,
but
right?
if you're gonna talk about the problem in Israel, why talk about not the Palestinian problem? I think that's the bigger issue in this thing. I don't think you're being biased by any chance, but I think that we need to expect we shouldn't be surprised by them, like actions are getting taken on civilians because these people are frustrated, and these people have been oppressed for so long that they will do anything to get the damage on the Israeli government.
Okay, so basically what I wanted to say is
They
Hamas
if
is a
they
terrorist.
see this, bro, you talk about civilians. They see this lands as occupied by those civilians. How can that be? If a enemy is occupying your land, how can you see them as a civilian? That's I'm just telling. I don't believe this, but that's how they view your enemy. Has a different view. You got to see how other side thinks of this conflict as well.
And how about how the world views it as well? So I think if you're thinking from international relations and international law, you've got to maintain the moral high ground. Any state or any yeah, you got to maintain the moral high ground. So it's I think it's very similar to Russia. The story people are saying that Russia um, went into Ukraine. It's the same kind of thing, but saying Hamas is justified coming into um, Israel.
Yeah. This is a okay. So I think the reason why I asked that question in that way is this, right? There's a difference between morality, terrorist, and also fighting for your land. Hamas is definitely the terrorist group for doing what they did, right? The question you should be asking is, are they justified? Is terrorism the
Hamas is not
worst way?
even the real government of Palestine. Hamas is uh, you know, a
Well,
quote unquote a
let me
terrorist group.
military, right? It's their military, right? It's the Palestinian
Yeah, yeah, it's,
government's
it's, a,
military.
it's a dictatorship. Hamas is a dictatorship.
Okay, interesting.
With
Okay,
a
what I'm
lot
trying
of
to say here,
resources.
Andre. What I'm trying
Mhm.
to add here is this, right? The same way the South African free fighters was declared terrorist by this white South African apartheid government, the same way that Mau Mau warriors in Kenya were declared terrorists by the Kenyan government at that time, which was the white British government. These are also terrorists. What I'm trying to get to you at is the word terrorist is simply a factual statement based on how you operate your military operations. It means you're willing to harm civilians or do things that will make civilians be scared of you. It's not about being right or wrong. Terrorist is just a
I,
word
I I
that has
think I
become
think the only option
cultural.
that they have is being a terror doing a terrorist attack
Mhm.
to to those land, because they want to. what civilians think of of you is actually important, because people will be scared of you. That's their objective, and that's all they care about.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
think the
So
action they took it qualifies for terrorism. I would agree with you on that.
okay, but you don't think, but you think they're justified because they're fighting for their land, right?
No, no, no. They're not the real Palestinian government. That these people,
Oh, so there has to be.
they don't want to
Wait, freedom
achieve
fighters.
anything. No,
Wait,
wait? I actually read about this. The Hamas, what they trying to achieve is actually not
Islamic State.
realistic. It's not realistic. They want to just kick out all the Jews. It's not actually possible.
Interesting.
It's not the real government of of the Palestinian people. These people are a terrorist, I think, because they are funded by a lot of terrorists, Iran, a lot of other groups. But these people use the and I you shouldn't be mad about this, but Palestinian people support these people because they're so mad at they're unfortunate, how they're so unfortunate, and how the society is like burning. It's a sad story. It's like what human can do each other, actually what hate can do to you, both sides hate each other and they will kill each other over it.
What do you think it
Right.
go on.
No, go ahead.
What do you think if you was put in a position as a leader, Palestinian leader, what do you think would be the best way to counter the expansion of Israel and still
It's impossible.
maintain?
That's the thing. You're asking impossible. Look at the map, right? Palestine was all that green area. Look at today. Palestine isn't even unified. Look
You
at that,
can't
right?
use
So
language like that, man. See, that's war language. Come, let's play diplomat. Let's play diplomats at the moment. Just for the moment, you can't use impossible in diplomatic language. That's war talk. So come on, play diplomat now.
you're asking the impossible. Look at this. Like I stated, right?
You can't use that kind of language.
Palestine
You get
isn't
people
even
killed.
unified by terrain. Look at that. They
Yeah,
can't
but
even.
Kaiser, that's
people
true.
killed.
Kaiser, that's true. But Israel has goals when it comes to like the Muslim world. They want to be accepted by the Muslim world, and if they need to get achieve that goal, they need to do something about the Palestinian thing. They need to actually
Okay.
solve the problem.
So Andre,
They're the power. They got the power. They got the economy.
yeah. So Audrey, right now you're actually touching on a way we can actually begin to answer IC3. Again, guys, I'm a comedian, so use that as you understand, right? That is actually my main job, comedy. But so if we use and shout out to Hassan, we'll come to you in a minute. If we use the argument that brother actually brought up there, right? They can leverage the Islamic communities to give them ammunition, so they can fight to unify their disconnected lands. So, and of course that's
That's
why Hamas
ridiculous. Unified their lands. The Palestinians can't do
not
that
possible.
because
Yeah.
it's not possible. Because the Israelis would never agree to that. Something like that.
See these words. Come on, let's raise the difficulty of this conversation. You're not allowed to use words like impossible and never in diplomatic arenas. You can't use that kind of language. So therefore, it becomes more difficult, and the challenge comes: how do you resolve problems as a diplomat? Not using words like never and impossible. So it strains the brain. You have to work hard.
Yeah. Look, there are Arabs in the Israeli society that are they feel Israeli, but there are people who left out. I know that Israel has like 10% Arab population. Who are Israeli citizens, and that's good. That shows a progress, if you can say.
Would you agree that the only way the Palestinians and the Arab world understand who are their supporters to effectively take back land from Israel, it would be through economic means? Would you agree with that?
No, I don't think you can get Israel to give lands economic means.
So, how did Israel expand? How did they do that?
They have crazy, rich friends like
What?
America. They expanded militarily, and then
Okay, so they expanded military, but you mentioned friends. What was this thing about friends? You
friends that actually support them in their, sovereignty, that
so
care about their sovereignty.
okay. So how did the friends support them? Did they come over
Uh,
there with guns? What did they do? What did they do? Did they march and start beating up Palestinians on the ground? What did these friends that you'd
no,
mentioned
no,
do?
no. They thought that they can actually. They thought these people can have like two peaceful country inside of like a small land, and that didn't
Yeah.
actually happen.
No, how was Israel supported in order to expand like we've seen like we're looking at on that map there?
Like how they used historic, Israel uses a lot of historic. They they claim the land historically because they lived there, quote
Right. So the
unquote, for
Palestinians
thousands
would
of
do the same
years.
thing. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
Palestinians would be doing the same thing. Okay. So how is it possible for the Israelis claim
Yeah. Well,
to
one
be
second, I
more?
see three. Let's
Yeah.
bring in the new panelists. What's good? What's good, Hassan? Thank you very much for coming through. What's your thoughts on this situation from what you've heard? The floor is yours. Let's get it. I think your Fulani microphone stopped working, Hassan.
Mhm.
Can you guys hear Hassan?
No, I can't hear. No.
Yeah, Hassan, I think your microphone or connection is it's not responding. Let me just write it in the chat. Yeah, maybe you might be able to
Wait,
see
wait,
it
wait,
if
wait, wait. Ike, join me. Maybe you can educate me on this conflict. How about you join the panel and say your piece, and we can actually have, a good discussion. I don't have to disagree with you. You can just say your piece, and we can hear how you're free. In your mind. This conflict is like above you.
yeah, Hassan, I think we can hear you now, right? Okay, your microphone is working now, but I think you're speaking quietly. So we'll move back to IC3 until you're ready, Hassan. But yeah, go ahead, ask your question, IC3.
Yeah, yeah. So looking at the map, we see it's green, then it moves to white. So how exactly did that expansion take place? And if there was to be a counter where the green, the Palestinian, for that situation to reverse, what would the Palestinians have to do? What do we think the Palestinians would have to do? And what do we understand? How did the Israelis manage to expand and change the map in that way?
Okay, so we know why. So first there was the Arab Israeli war that took place, right? That was when they were taking over the land. So as you can see in the map, in 1947 is when the Arab Israeli war took place. So you can see by the beginning of 1947 it's green, right? It's Palestinian land for the majority of it. Then by end of 1947, there was the Arab-Israeli war that took place, whereby a lot of the Israelis were gaining land, right, to the point whereby you have it today. So can it be reversed? No, it's not possible, right? Unless there is such a catastrophic event that occurs in
Kaiser,
this part
Kaiser,
of the
can I ask you a
world.
question? How,
Yes.
Israel is like one of the strongest army. How they let this happen to them? Like, does it show a
Well,
weakness?
no, it's not a weakness. I believe the Mossad allowed this to happen so that they can finally take over all the land of Palestine. I'm going to make projections about the future, and I see that Israel will take more land actually, and what we now know as Palestine will be under Israeli control in the next few months. Right? Israel will make sure that Palestine doesn't exist for its own safety concerns. And again, this is very much orchestrated, 100%. That's my analysis, right? That's my opinion in this
So
case, right? I don't have evidence, I don't have facts, I don't have any information at hand, just my intuition and logic. Yes.
Yeah, but I hear there are a crowd of people that believe in these people can actually be part of one society, and actually solve their problem. But I think that's hard, because
so are you saying, are you both saying that this expansion took place only as a result of violence? Or
uh
was it war?
yeah.
Ne- So every time the white section of the map expanded, it was a result of war.
Uh,
Is that what you're saying?
Not really. In settlers, settlers. The people actually moved into these lands as well.
Ah, okay. So um, settlers are not an act of war. You're saying?
Yeah, yeah. That's the. I don't know how you. That's the international community. They condemn like legal settlers.
Okay. So is it possible then that if that's the model, it's settlers and sometimes war. So is it possible that Palestinians could move into Israeli lands and settle, do the
Uh,
reverse? Is that
no,
not
no,
possible?
no. Because the society is
No,
ruled
no,
by
yeah.
it.
Let me
Wait,
let me answer that.
okay,
Yeah, let
okay.
me answer that quickly. Then you can go afterwards. So let me give you the exact evidence. Right, they had an Arab-Israeli war. That was 1947. And then
Okay.
there was the war between the Arab Israeli war was obviously a long war, right? It wasn't just the one against the Egyptians. It was basically when the white settlers came back into what is now known as what was now then known as Palestine. The white settlers basically, sorry, the Arab settler says, you guys left black and came back white. What happened? So they knew that this group of, right, that was what the then president of Egypt said. So it said, well, okay, what happened? How did you, become like this? So they realized it's a security risk to the Arab world, and they went and declared war, or rather, they declared war on each other, and they had a war. Now, one of the wars there was a 7-day war where Israel, supported by its belligerents, right, America, UK, and everyone, they did defeat the Egyptians, right?
Yeah,
So
they
that's
did.
Yeah, so that's how they're able to take so much land. It was called the
They
6-day
defeat the
war.
Lebanese and Egyptians.
Yes, those were the
right,
main
right,
warriors there. So yeah, so this thing,
okay.
and that again, that was much later onwards, right? That was in the 60s, right?
Hmm.
But there was also another one in the in immediately when they took control in 1948. So there's different kinds of wars. So first night there was 1947 Arab Israeli war. Then there was a 6-day war in 1967, which was actually the third Israeli Arab war. The first one is 1947. So yeah, this whole thing has been there. The reality is, right, Israelis took land that wasn't theirs. They claim it's theirs because of ancestral roots, aka ancient Israel. and the Palestinians have been lived there for over 500 years or something, right? Because what happened is there was a sort of state known as Israel and another state known as um, Jerusalem or Judea, two different nation states, right? Israel was was in the northern kingdom, and then the southern kingdom was known as Judea. So what happened is, obviously, during the occupation by the Roman Empire, uh, in 70 AD,
They
there were
destroyed the temple.
destroyed it. Yes, they destroyed the temple, and then the so-called Jews migrated outside of Israel. And since then, they haven't had a permanent um, occupation in that area. They migrated out. Some of them stayed, of course. That's why there was Arab Jews still in that region, living there with the Palestinians. So then, when of course Jews having experienced racism, right, and also other issues in Europe, Holocaust and other stuff being one of them, they set up a very strong Zionist movement that was there to reestablish a nation state controlled by Jews for Jews. They tried to give them
Wait, Kaizo.
Yeah?
Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas strongly?
No, I don't condemn anyone, man. Like, if people are
I
fighting for
I
what they believe
condemn
in. So,
Hamas because I condemn Hamas because they went after children and women, and they went after
that
peaceful.
happens even with America. Everybody does that, right? It's a tactic. It's just other people are good at hiding it, but everybody attacks women and children. So that's normal. That's part of warfare. Right. But I get you. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but they.
But the question, but the question is, let's go into the mode of solution. You're saying that there's an expansion, and you're saying Israel are naughty. So I'm saying, okay, if that's not correct, then how can the situation be reversed? Because if there can be expansion, there can also be shrinking.
It's not possible, IC3, right? Because I know you're linking this to the Pan-African movement and liberation of Black people, but it's a different movement. We actually have a stand a chance. These guys don't stand a chance.
Kaizo, that's the most facts. Wait, Kaizo, actually, Kaizo, that's actually a fact.
They don't really stand a chance. That is the truth. They don't really stand a chance.
Sadly, they don't
see how, but they can try.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah, I can, but I don't see how. Yes. The whole Israeli-Palestine thing, I think it's a big mix-up, and religious and cultural allegiances, and a little bit of a pity, a guilty, the West is actually guilty of what they did to the Jews, the Holocaust and things like that. That was why they just gifted them that land, but they don't have, anything to do with that land in reality. What actually happened is that it's the British that gave the land to the Jews and relocated them. What has happened was that the League of Nations, after the First World War, the Ottoman Turks, they actually ended that war on the side of Germany. When Germany was defeated, all their possessions, were they just practically did what they did in Berlin with Africa, and then they just gave some part of the land to France. The whole area we call the Middle East, it was either France or Britain. Now, they actually the League of Nations was supposed to find a place and bring the Jews of Europe back to their ancestral home. That is where Palestine was. So they actually, so the League of Nations was not able to achieve any of its mandate.
His mic cracks.
It's it's a pity that Hassan lost connection because this is one of his areas of specialism. So I was quite looking forward to hearing him on things. It's quite but there it is. All right, carry on. Hassan, come back if you're listening. Come back. We want to hear your take.
Yeah, so my challenge out there, because the majority of you appear to me to have fallen to the propaganda, right? How can you conclude, how can any of you conclude that it is impossible or never? How can you use such words like that? So it seems to me that you've all been
Because
brainwashed.
93, it's not about brainwashing.
So I
Like,
want you to
let's
explain and
go ahead.
justify that use of language. That's why I'm asking these questions, and I
Okay,
want you to
so
listen carefully.
right, so we can justify it by looking at the reality on the ground. So if let's look at the numbers, there's 4.9 Palestinian million people. We have also 9.3 million Israeli people. Now, if you look at the supporters who are clearly supporting the sides, right? America is it's literally more of an Israeli supporter than even Britain is to America, right? We have Jewish people in control of IMF banks. I can name them right now.
What? Kaiser, don't say that.
Careful,
Kaiser,
careful.
wait, Kaiser,
I told you,
Kaiser,
careful.
come
As I've
on.
asked you to explain your position,
Okay,
so be careful as you're
Kaiser,
there
talking
are
now.
okay.
Kaiser,
There
can
are
I address
powerful
what you
people.
said?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kaiser, that's what white supremacists say to Israeli people, and that's what they say to get rid
There you
of them.
go.
Don't use that. That's actually a white supremacist talking point.
Right.
We don't hate Jews here, okay? Just saying. Don't
Right.
even say stuff like that, please.
No, I
Right.
didn't say it. Right.
There's
I'll
no
just say
hatred
this.
of Jews. I mean, in the general Islamic people don't actually hate Jews. I think if there is a hatred of Jews on the Islamic side, it should
No, one thing someone mentioned though, I just want to get clarity. He said the Jews come from Europe. Not all of them come from Europe. A good percentage of Israelis, if we're going to be honest, when 1940, when nation Israel started, it was the Jews in Europe. However, in the Middle East itself, right? They kicked, since they was like saying, so, oh, you guys, well, your nation has been created. Get the F out. Many Jews from the Middle East had to leave their homes, who they've been living there for God knows how many centuries, from Morocco, from Tunisia, from Libya, from Lebanon, from Syria, from Egypt, because I know Egyptian Jews, even from Sudan, Jews was living there. They had to move out of their homes. Because I remember, I talked to my Egyptian friends. They said, "Oh yeah, the Jews used to, had very good businesses in Egypt. They had, jewelry districts in both Egypt and Sudan. But when the nation Israel was created, the various different countries in the Middle East told them they had to get the hell out. And even in Yemen, I'm just going to be real. When I was there, they do have a small Jewish population there. And some of the locals were very, very receptive towards them. It was a group of Jewish kids on a bus that came from northern Yemen before, the war broke out with the Houthis or whatever they called them. They in other words, they are Shiite.
You are right. You are
Shiite,
right. You are right.
And
you are right. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I hate when people start saying that, because they really don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yes, what actually happened was that even in the Islamic world, in Islamic countries, and after that 7-day war, with the Arabs, and seeing that the West was backing Israel, the Arabs felt attacked. They felt as if their land wanted to become sophisticated. Now that brought, that strained the relationship between them. And frankly, this is the game that the Westerners have been playing between different centuries. They have had, the power, to shape, the narratives of this world, and they are shaping it. What they do is just they divide and conquer. The Arabs, the Islamic civilization, they've been the ally of Jews all over. When Jews were facing persecution in Europe, in East, in home, you know, in Islamic nations. Even, when in in the Second World War, when Hitler was, all over them and, trying to exterminate them, they were given, Muslims, they were the ones that helped. The Muslims helped a lot of Jews, not to get, killed. But all that changed.
My only gripe with the Islamic world is here's the thing. Okay, in the West, you're able to practice your religions and all that stuff and building a mosque without no problems. But in an Islamic world, if you're a minority religion, let's just say you're not treated all too well or too kind. I hear constant stories from Coptic Egyptians in regards to whenever they want to build something, they have to get, or fix something in their churches, they have to get a government permission. Why would you have in your country, I'm talking about Egypt particularly, and also Sudan to a certain degree, a driver's license that states your religion? That don't make no damn sense. In the West, people are, now I'm not pointing out all Muslim countries, particularly like Muslim countries like, in parts of Africa to a certain degree, Indonesia and, in Malaysia, not Malaysia, I forgot I don't know if it's Malaysia or not, or whatnot, which have a little bit more freedom. But when it comes down to the Middle East, minority religions do not have freedom.
Okay, can I ask you
and that is a problem.
Okay, so judging by what you're saying, I'm getting the impression that you're more or less pro-Israel and the West in that you believe they're more free. They allow.
I would say
not free, tolerant. Is that the word? They're more.
More tolerant.
Yeah.
Okay. By far, the West is more tolerant than the Islamic world when it comes down to people believing as far as what the hell they want, not going to jail because you're an atheist.
Right.
I mean, what type of bullshit is that?
Yeah. Okay. So watch this. Let me ask you the question now. Okay. Tolerance. So the map that Kaiser was showing earlier shows the expansion of Israel, and obviously, and so would you say that expansion is and that power is the result of tolerance, and tolerance has the moral high ground, so that is why they were successful in their expansion? Is that what your position?
It's not my position in regards to that. When it comes down to nation Israel, I really have to be very, very objective of the situation, because it has nothing. I mean, it does have something to do with religion, but it's a lot more nuances that occurred there, as far as the creation state of the nation of Israel and the whole issue with the Palestinians, who was pretty much there. But then again, and it goes not just, and then one could argue that the Jews were taken out there by the Romans, or because Jews was pretty much during the Greco-Roman period when Rome took over, was the leader of what is the known world at that time. Took the Jews as slaves, and then a lot of Jews pretty much scattered throughout the Mediterranean world, or the Middle East and North Africa at a time period. And as we know, we know about the history of the Jews in Spain and Morocco and all that. So they were pretty much spread out. When it gets me on my nerves is when people say they come from Europe, which all of them came from Europe, which is not the case. A huge percentage of them came from the Middle East.
Okay.
If we're gonna make statements like that, let's tell the whole damn history.
Oh yeah, that's right, because we're going to come involved. But I want to see how many of us in the chat, or I want to see, do we understand what enabled the expansion? Was it religious? Was it morality? Was it tolerance? And if we understand what allowed for the expansion, we could also understand that it is possible for there to be a contraction. It can be
No, but I
reversed.
think
You
we
can't
know
use the
what
words like
happened.
never. If you understand the
Sure, but
possible,
sure,
yeah, go on.
sure, but we know what happened. Expansion. America and Britain, one of the two most powerful nations at that time, supported them. Even Germany paid them reparations. So money, a huge thing over here is money and military arms, as well as military deals. The fact that Israel even now has a nuclear weapon, etc. There's no way Israel would lose land to Palestinians. Now, it can't obviously put a nuclear weapon there because it affect its people as well, right? They're fighting over the same strip of land, but it's very unlikely for us to have a, let's say, an opposite movement forward. I know you like to root out for the underdogs, but in this case, this is not Africa. They don't have the population. They only got 4.9 million people. They don't have the organized military intelligence as Mossad does. They don't have all the ammunitions. Right now, they're basically surviving off Islamic militias giving them money. What if they don't strongly align with Islamic militias? What if they really go back to what they want, which is Palestine? So right now they're having a myriad of different interest groups that are funding them, and they have to be loyal to those interest groups. So they can't even focus on their main goal, which is getting back their country. So that's one of the issues that's going on here.
Okay, so you were talking about population, and you're saying, I think your argument is that the Palestinians are only a small number of people. So you start talking about numbers. Okay, so wasn't it not true that the Israelis were a small number at first, and then they expanded, as your map was showing? Now,
everyone was small at that time.
pardon?
That was the occupied. Everybody was small population wise at that time. That was just the areas where each group occupied. Slightly different argument.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's. So
I just
it's
want,
not
I just
really
want,
about
I just want to make,
population so
I
much.
just want to answer this question. Yes, I do know Flint, Michigan. That's pretty much a weak type of statement, Sailor. Just come up here and talk about that. That had Flint, Michigan. I know you're trying to be funny. Has nothing to do with this conversation. So get a grip, bro. Yes, I do know the United States do donate $5 billion. Israel is one of the highest people the United States do donate to. Israel, and also a country called Misri or Egypt.
So are we saying then that really this battle between Israel and Palestine is really is it word proxy between the West and the others, whiteness and the West versus the others, rather than it's not really about Israel and Palestine. It's about who's behind Israel, which becomes whiteness and the West versus the darkies. Is that what we're really talking about? Because every time I'm asking you, how did Israel expand, then you have to go and talk about the support they received from the West. So really, it's just the West we're talking about. Is that not the case? It's really just the West you're talking about. Because if Israel couldn't have done anything without the West, then, and the West allowing them to expand like they did, then it's because the West decided and they want that. So really, we're talking about the West and the concept of the West. Would you disagree with that? Shrimps and cheese, grits, Kaiser.
Oh, I was distracted for a minute. What was your question? I'm sorry about that.
Yes. So is it, when you're talking about the conflict between Israel and Palestine, is it really the conversation about the West, the white West, and Israel's just a proxy?
Oh, that's a very good question. A very, very, very good question. That's a hard one. Let's see. I see three black. Because in my perspective, I don't think it had really anything to do with, race per se.
Okay, let's go.
I mean,
Let's go there.
you know, because the nation is. I mean, the reason why the nation was Israel was formed due to the fact as far as what occurred during World War II. We all know that, the history of that, and there was several countries around the world that they even considered the Israelis to migrate to. A couple of more in African countries as well. I think Madagascar was one. But as that decision was going on, obviously, as we know historically speaking, the Jewish religion, let's just say the Jewish religion and the Jewish people were in what is now Israel. I mean, we could see from all of his historical ruins, and also is connected to, as we know, the Abrahamic religions, and history, as the history of the Romans being there, you know, in that particular time, and they pretty much chose Israel for that, because the Jews had to find a homeland due to the fact that what occurred during World War II.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think
Yeah.
World War II wasn't
What
about race?
occurred in World War II? What happened?
Okay, so let's just not be real. We know what happened in World War II.
It's for listeners, right? They might not know what happened.
Kenzo,
Yeah,
what did you
everybody knows
choose? Why do you choose this topic? It's controversial, and you might
No, I mean,
get in trouble with
I think it's a
YouTube.
great topic, and I think it will get him more followers, possibility. And
Nah,
that's
nah.
what
I
It's
think
just trending right now.
no,
so-
no. But Kaiser, you got the worst take on Israeli though. Like you
But
got
why
the
is
worst
taking
take.
when I'm not doing what Western media promotes is propaganda?
No. But you're actually, the Western media is actually not liked by the Arabs. The Arabs are disliking everything. If you actually look at it, most media. No. Most media is pro-Israel, but the problem is with you.
I think the Arabs need to fix up their own
It's
country.
actually controversial, for
I mean,
you
7-7. I think the Arabs need to fix up their own country as well. Like I said, I get so tired of them. They talking about lack of freedom, a lack of freedom, a lack of freedom. But they get a lot of freedom in the Western countries. It's just like when a lot of Arabs go to the Middle East, and then they start to try to install their viewpoints, particularly in France, on the rest of society. And then the French started clapping down as far as the women can't be covering themselves with hijab and all that type of stuff. And I'm just wondering, like this: if the Arab world was so unified, all those Arabs who go to the European countries, why they have not gone to places like Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia
or
it's not gonna allow it. They can't even support their people.
UAE or something like that.
UAE, there's a lot of immigrants there. They rather
Yeah, we all know that. I'm just saying. I mean, they could go to those countries if they feel a lot more comfortable.
It's UAE welcomes all immigrants.
Yeah. What I'm just saying is they could go to those countries if they do not feel comfortable in places like France.
No, but Brian, you gotta look at it. Third world countries, people, everybody want to go to the West. Why is that? I don't think it's just a neighboring country that people want to go to. They just want to go to the West.
Right. Why? Now, this is it. This is the question. The West, based on the conversations we've been having earlier on, are the people behind the expansion, because Kaiser showed the map of Israel. The expansion of Israel was caused by the West. Yes. The West were behind the expansion. And then now you're saying that everybody wants to go to the West. Well, obviously, the West has the power to expand and allow you to take land. So why? And what is it about the West?
Maybe they have created an image for themselves, like in the movies. People in third world countries see that image. They're very attracted to it.
Okay.
777. Why do people from Darfur, and I talk to them specifically, they prefer Israel, living in Israel, having more freedom in Israel than places like Misri.
Israel is another Western country in the Middle East. It's majority white.
You have a lot of people, a lot of Jews there who are from the Middle East.
Technically, Israel is the West. Technically, Israel is part of the West. It is part of the West.
But then again, you have people from Darfur who come from a Muslim country, go to another Muslim country, get treated like crap, and then they get treated a little bit better in places like Israel. How do you argue that?
I think how you argue that is how humans are treated bad in these kind of countries, like Muslim countries, if you're a minority, and especially if you're Black, because these people don't have like equality of people. Equality. They don't have such things that Western nations have. You go to court. You don't get executed for random things.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I think you guys are arguing from different angles, right? Because some of you are arguing whether the West is the ideal democratic state versus whether Palestine obviously morally is on the right by fighting for their land versus whether they can actually win, right? All these are separate discussions that shouldn't really be muddled into one point of view, right? Palestine will never get their power back, right? Israel has got nuclear weapons. They're supported by America, by Britain, by France, and NATO, basically, right? That's like their friends. They are powerful people in, the IMF. They have good relationships with so many powerful people.
Guys, I want to stay away from the Israeli topic. I think there's controversial people. People are very toxic. I heard that friends, they actually had a fight over that. And they actually are not friends anymore. This topic is controversial. I think you should stay away from Israeli power, but focus on the Palestinian. And what is actually can be the solution for these people. You have a lot of Palestinian in the Israeli society, who have an Israeli passport, who work in Israeli companies.
The solution is if Palestinians understand they will never be free and just fight for freedom like Black Americans
fucking shit. Holy fuck. They will never be free.
Yeah, fight for their own rights within Israeli society. There is no Palestine.
You want them to walk on the streets singing "We Shall Overcome."
No, Kaiser, what are you saying?
But the thing is, this current situation that they're doing right now is not helping matters, and it's not helping.
Yeah, it's not helping them out.
The media is going to make them look like being a bunch of fools, terrorists, murderers.
Right. What should they have done?
Okay,
nothing.
Let me ask you guys this. This is where you're. Okay, wait. Let me ask you guys this. This is where I can tell the Bantus from the non-Bantus here. Maybe IC3 is different. Who knows? But really, are they going to suffer any more than they already suffered? It's like someone is already whooping your ass, and you're saying, "Well, don't hold his fist. Don't ever stop him from hitting you, or don't defend yourself because he's going to hit you more." And but you already get hit. What do you have to lose?
Right. Good point.
Yeah, but I think the Muslim world is actually strong and unified. Again, they have one take on this problem.
The Muslim world is not unified. If they was really unified,
no. The Palestinian issue.
The Chinese about the Uyghurs.
No.
Andre, look, the Muslim world is unified amongst the peasants in the ruling class of the Muslim world. Egypt, President Al-Sisi, that guy does not give a fuck about them. In fact, one of the reasons he was brought into power in Egypt and why America supported his coup. And by the way, he came into power in a coup, by the way. He was never elected. So you guys crying out the think about the guy in Egypt. And the reason the Americans support him is, you see that Gaza Strip, it has a territory with Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula and stuff like that. During the Muslim Brotherhood's reign, they promised to open it, and they did open it, which helped Hamas in that Gaza Strip import and get a lot of illegal weapons and so on. Not illegal weapons, but get a lot of weapons and arm themselves, which was obviously a threat to Israel. And that's one of the reasons why he was brought into power. by the West so that he can close that strip again, just like the predecessor before the Muslim Brotherhood. I forgot his name. The guy who was there for like 30 years or so on. So obviously, who gives a shit what the average Egyptian thinks? The guy in power, yeah, the guy in power is there because he supports the Israeli cause, and that is what's going to keep him in power. And his country now is in a debt crisis. Egypt is in a poor financial, it's in a bad financial crisis. If he wants to get any support from the West through loans or through loan relief or anything, he's going to have to support the Israeli cause. Same with most of these Arab countries. The Saudis, the average Saudi probably supports Palestine. The prince himself, why does he give a shit about Israel, bro? He's trying to unify with the West. He's trying to create an alignment with both sides. In fact, not too long ago, he was talking about being in discussions with Israel for recognition, to recognize them and to have normal agreements with them and so on. So you talk about the Arab world, bro. No one gives a fuck about the Arab peasants who's selling bread on the street, bro. Like the leaders are all on Israel's side, including Jordan, which is like the closest country. Jordan, Lebanon.
Right about that, Niall Junta, because I think the Saudis actually allowed Israel military planes to land on their land some years back.
Dude, the second biggest military base for airships and so on is in Saudi. The first is in Qatar. Like all of the American top military bases are in that region. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. The Muslim world is united. You, the Shishka Bastana on the streets, can say whatever the fuck you want, but the leaders who have all the power are united with Israel. Like 99%.
No. I don't mean the government. I mean the people. They have one opinion.
Who the fuck gives a shit, bro? How are you going to be of any use to Palestine?
It's actually a bad image for Israel. You know, the state of Israel.
Oh my God, this guy's talking about image, bro. Israel has had a bad image amongst the Arab world since the start, since the 60s or 50s or however back you want to go. They're still around.
No, but I think that Israel have a lot of things to gain from getting exception from the Muslim world, Muslim countries, especially Indonesia. Like a lot of countries who are growing, and it's actually,
bro, they can trade with the West. They're already richer than every other Muslim country. Look at their GDP per capita. They probably have a higher GDP per capita than any other Muslim country out there, with the exception of, let's say, the UAE and Kuwait, which are just
they're not richer than Indonesia, and they're not richer than Indonesia.
I mean,
oh my God, you say on GDP per capita, man. What the fuck? Literally, even Saudi is richer than Indonesia.
I'm talking about economic. I'm talking about economic size.
Like I said,
bro, Indonesia has a population of 250 million people. What the hell are we on about?
If the Muslim world,
Indonesia literally has 300 million people.
Indonesia will be top 4 richest country in 2050.
That is crazy, bro. Okay,
this whole Muslim unity thing is a farce. It's a farce.
Right. Okay. So
that's when these guys talk about Pan-Africanism. Look, it's a farce because most of these guys just want to maintain power within their region. Like if the Saudis ever want Muslim unity, the Saudis only want Muslim unity underneath them. The Saudis want to control the Arab. The UAEs want Muslim. They say they want Muslim unity, but really what they want is for them to control the Muslim world. When the average Egyptian says they want Muslim unity, they're imagining reviving the Abdul Nasser days and being the leaders of the Arab world through Egypt. So all of these guys just want to dominate the Muslim world. And obviously that's going to create division, that's going to create conflicts of interest. So there's no such thing as unity.
No, but look, I think that it's actually, it can be a win-win thing that can happen here if actually we solve if Israel gets accepted among the Muslim countries, it will be Middle East will economically be stronger because it will be unified.
No, I mean, you know what? You have so many different. Well, most of the governments in the Middle East are pretty much dictatorships, really, a kingdom. You know what I mean? They're not fully democratic. I don't know how that's going to be mixing.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Wait, Abby, Can you let me ask you this question. Do you think that Saudi Arabia can be a leader in the Muslim world and recognize Israel and not actually say something about the Palestinian issue? They have to, they have to say something. They don't have to do anything by, it's like
the leadership of Saudi
sending a
Arabia,
sign.
the leadership of Saudi Arabia will recognize Israel, but they cannot. In other words, we all know they do. But as far as the rank and file in Saudi Arabia, they have to keep the system like it is due to the mindset of the population there.
Yeah, true. I mean, if you look at India, he probably wants to recognize Israel because he sees the benefits of getting closer to the West and some of the benefits that will come with, acknowledging Israel so that he can get closer to America and so on. But he probably can't do it because, bro, let's be honest, there's already a lot of Muslims in the Arab world that already hate his guts because they think he's liberalizing Saudi Arabia and so on. So in the future, it's not within his interest to make his critics even sound more right.
So is it a war then against the West and Zionism, or Israel is just
no one gives a fuck, man. Look, Israel is just a military base in the Middle East for America. It's like the entry point for America.
Right. So there's no discussion about Israel and Palestine, really. We're really talking about the West versus the rest of the world. And we just...
What do you mean rest of the world? How does this affect you?
Ice Black, you've been asking that question. Can I come in? Give my own 2 cents on it. Hello to panelists here and those listening to us. This particular issue it's got everything about human nature in it, right? So it's nothing you're gonna take from the middle. You have to look at the beginning. How did we get here?
Yeah,
obviously, yeah. Britain was a superpower, hegemonic in nature, but they're the ones who, in early 20th century, created Israel. Basically, they went to Palestine in what they call the Balfour, Balfour Declaration. Over 100 years ago, November 2, 1917. After the name is Otto Balfour, who wrote this letter. So the letter was short, and it says that British government to establish in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. And then they went on to facilitate that. So it's a long history, a lot's happened, and every decade, it's all kinds of things. For those who want to look into it, from the 30s, the tensions go from humiliation, from hubris to humiliation coming from those people. Now, when I was younger, as an African, I supported the Palestinians, right? So with the emotions that some people are saying, it's America, that Israel is a base for America, or it's, North versus South, or, when they say North versus South, that means rich countries and poor countries, or traditions. But I don't think that's what we're here to talk about, the full scale of this conflict. Rather, what I want to look at it is from me as a Nigerian. What does that war, what is it telling us? What's going on? How does it affect us? Why does it keep going on? Because you cannot be a hypocrite. What you have in Israel is pretty much what we have in Nigeria. It's just that they don't care about us. The provocations that is giving Hamas impetus to go and do what they did, cowardly move. Somebody should have told them this is what's going to happen. They're in serious trouble right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have to try to understand the arc. How is the human development and civilization going? Is going towards what not the governments now. People want progress, peace, innovations in technology, medicine, space, cosmos, stuff like that. That's what ordinary people want. But we do know there's a dark torrent that's controlling the politics and violence in the world, right? And they have the upper hand. So these are Palestinians, Muslims, Arabs. They're not making it easy for all of us to galvanize and try to bring to fore a fair world. They're not making it easy, because exactly what they're suffering in Israel, I mean the Palestinians in the hands of Israel, is what we're suffering in Nigeria.
Right, I'd agree.
You know, it's exactly the same thing. If the tables are turned, do you think these Arabs are going to be fair to the Jews? No, they will do exactly what these other people are doing to them. So then, how can somebody sympathize with you? You have to be fair. You go to Muslim countries, say Saudi Arabia, you can't really be a Christian there without undergoing humiliation. You know, so that's the way I'm looking at it. Now, remember, I used to be on the other side, where somebody like Netanyahu is abhorrent. It's somebody that is just a bad actor, but they keep electing him and electing him and electing him over there. And they keep treating the Palestinians bad. But I don't want a world where these Muslims are in charge either, because they're not fair. In their own countries, they're not fair to minorities. So that's my take on it, is to look at it from the side of fairness. Now, they are no match, because that stuff you're looking for all the time, for example, in Nigeria, you're looking to show that you're superior to, say, Christians or non-Muslims. Let's put it that way. Well, here it is right there. The experiment, you could watch it daily by observation. Western technology, Western education, it's superior to any other. This is just a little satellite country, Israel, that they use in a Jewish state, prepared by Britain. I want you to go look at it. It has nothing to do with the United States. Everything you see right there is British made. America is not against it. America gives it impetus and backs it, right? But from us, who are told, do you know that Israel, for example, supplied apartheid South Africa with nuclear weapons? They were on the side of South Africa, Israel. So it's not a good state actor. But in this case, I have to side with them. Since I sobered up on it, I'm with them, right? I'm with them. And it's unfortunate. But
and you with the West?
I am with the West.
Brother, can I ask you this?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Why does the AU recognize Palestine? What do we gain out of recognizing an African country?
To recognize Palestine, you said?
Why does the AU, if you go into the AU now, what you call Israel, they only recognize Palestine. They don't recognize Israel. And I was thinking, look, if Israel is willing to give us some, technology transfers and whatever they have, agriculture, weapon, or whatever, we should just drop the Palestinians and recognize Israel. Why are we fighting someone else's cause? Especially if we can gain something out of it.
Maybe it's North Africans who are obviously bringing North Africans like Egypt. They want to bring money.
No. Actually, this is changing. Okay, but Kejo, I'm telling you, that might have been historically like that, but right now that is mostly changing. The most staunch North African country, which is anti-Israel, are Algeria and Libya. Right? Libya is not even a country these days. It's pretty much split in three or something. It's pretty much Somalia. They're fighting a civil war. The country doesn't even exist anymore. Tunisia is an irrelevant country, for being honest. Algeria, bro, just give Algeria something else. Morocco has already recognized Israel. Egypt, like I told you, the president is only there to protect Israeli interests and American interests. So he'll do whatever his boss is telling. So at the end of the day, bro, give them a middle finger. I know South Africans don't like Israel because of their history, but I think you could probably find something to suit them over with. And drop the Palestinians, bro. Literally last time, remember the case when all these Africans were crying about Israel being accepted as an observer state, while Palestine is also an observer state. Well, just drop the Palestinians, bring the Israelis as an observer state. Obviously, they don't get voting rights or anything. But you just tell them, look, if we can get X technology transfers and so on, you can be an observer state. You can sit in the meetings. No one gives a shit. Like nothing really happens. In
The short answer to that question, I know it's rhetorical in nature, but they're playing us. It's us that they're playing, right? When any state such as Saudi Arabia emerges and it's doing pretty good, then they are with Israel and with United States. They're not going to go in there fighting, doing all that stuff. The AU is made up of a lot of Islamic states, quasi-Islamic states. They're not really Islamic even, right? It's just that they're being played. The point is that there have been many series in the negotiations going in episodically, from the Naksa to the 6-Day War to the Intifada, the first Intifada, 1987 to 1993, and there's been the world is trying to give a deal. It goes through the Oslo years with Palestinian Authority. That's Arafat and everybody. I don't know how old some of you are here. To the second Intifada, to the issue of the East Jerusalem and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So, and they've been having Israel make some concessions, right? And they've been making concessions. So the hatred on both sides is unbecoming. But if I have something to gain from it, then I'll take sides based on emotions. But we have nothing to gain from either one of these sides. When our people are getting slaughtered, and we have more people killed sometime in Nigeria than what provokes these people. Nobody cares about us. They have practically destroyed the United Nations, so there's no access to make peace. Even though it looks like these guys are suffering. We're suffering more. The AU has been infiltrated. It's basically an Islamic organization. The West African one, the same thing. You saw how when elected,
you know what the problem is?
Yeah.
The problem is, like, whatever you call, there's no such thing as an African institution that actually knows how to play politics. They are ideologues. Because if you ask them, why do you support Palestine? They'll just tell you, oh, we are anti-oppression, some filler stuff like that. Because, oh, we were oppressed in the past, so we're anti-oppression. Like, look at the Arab countries. Even the Arab countries don't support Palestine. Like, the people, the average peasants, might support Palestine. But the leaders themselves don't even support Palestine. But you have the AU. Like, did you see the statement the AU put out? Like, bro, they might as well have been. They were so pro-Palestine, like it's ridiculous.
I mean, you know what's worse, right?
At the end of the day, it's like, bro, what do the Palestinians have to offer you? Fuck all. Like, you're not their people.
Do you know how,
they're not the same people as you.
Do you know how bad this gets worse, right? If you look at the curse of Ham, right, it's actually the Palestinians who have the curse of Ham. Right? It was Canaanites.
Palestinians are descendants of the Canaanites.
Exactly. These are actually the curse of Ham, not even Africans, right? These are the Bible literally prophesied. These guys will be the bottom and the service of the servants, right? Right now, you got black Jews.
But this is the problem with adopting slave morality, because it makes you. It makes you want to be, like, not want to be oppressed, but there's a psyche within you that seeks to help the oppressed. Like, you always seek the underdog and you want to suffer alongside the underdog. Bro, just take the highly favored person and benefit from them. Like, be rational.
One question, guys. Here's a little theory. Here's a little thought. If Jews never came to Palestine, or the collective Jews from all over the world,
come to Kenya,
countries, what type of country would Palestine be? Another Iran?
It'll be just a normal average, like Lebanon. Let's use Lebanon since it's
Lebanon is part Christian. A third of their population or more are part Christian.
It would be the same thing.
It would just be.
Not all Palestinians are Muslims, right?
Right. Some are Christian. I know a Palestinian Christian in real life.
Also, some are Jews as well. Right, like 10% of
I met a Christian.
Yeah, so it would be like Lebanon. What Jay was telling you would be similar to Lebanon or Jordan, because Jordan is like 90% Muslim too.
Right.
But Israel would have been in Kenya right now. The Wangers would be fighting against the Israelis.
No, they would have been in Madagascar.
Or Uganda.
Madagascar. Yeah. It's Madagascar they would have been in.
Oh yeah, they can take Madagascar. Who even lives in Madagascar?
So would you agree that the fundamentals of all this conflict I like the way Kaiser mentioned the curse of Ham. You see, basically, the hatred for Israel and the hatred for the West, and then when you slip in the word whiteness seems to be mentioned. The West, whiteness, white identity, and Zionism and Israel. They all seem to go into one basket.
So, anti-3, let me just cut you off a little bit there. The main thing here is that this is a this is a power battle, and Africans, unfortunately, we don't understand how power is played. We think by just aligning ourselves to the morally, let's say, less reprehensible position means somehow we're identifying, we're creating a union between us and them.
Exactly.
Right? So that's now the problem. We need to understand how power actually works. Who do we actually align with?
Okay, so, and this is why no one respects, Africans, bro. Because you guys just go and align with anyone if it just aligns with your narrative. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, okay, so I think sometimes we need to separate the African Union from African countries, because I feel like the African Union is an entity of its own, and African countries end up doing their own thing separate from the African Union, because they don't really, the African Union doesn't have any real power over African countries, and African countries only have like a partial say within the African Union. Because if you look at Ethiopia, Ethiopia has always been aligned.
Thank God for that.
Like, there's never been a day, like, the headquarters of the African Union are in Ethiopia, but Ethiopia is like neck to neck with Israel. Like, there will never be a day when Ethiopians will not align. I don't mean like the average Ethiopian, of course, but like the political class, whoever came in, whether it was Haile Selassie, the Derg, the TPLF after that, and now even Abiy Ahmed, they all align with Israel because they understand in the politics of the region we're in, we're surrounded by Muslims, just like these guys. So it's better for us, for the Israelis to take all the heat and all the ire of the Muslim world. So we align with that. If you look at Nigeria, Nigeria is mostly aligned with Israel. It's not really aligned with Palestine. And now you look at South Africa. South Africa is obviously more aligned with Palestine because of its history with Israel and the apartheid regime and so on. So it differs country to country.
Yeah, you have to divide. For example, Nigeria, right? When you say Nigeria is aligned with Israel, not really. I mean, the Southeasterners, the Igbos, the Christians, both North and South, may align with Israel, okay? But the North, the Islamic tradition, align with Palestine, right? So I was looking at some tweets by FFK. I don't know if you know who that is in Nigeria. Are you from Nigeria, Nelatic?
No.
Okay,
no,
so I okay, then I'll leave that out. But what I'm saying is that Nigeria is not a monolithic country, right? That it's an intersection where you have both traditions collide, right? So, and they claim officially it's about 50-50. So it's interesting that this is where then you have to do the study. The Northern Muslims, as this battle is going on, if anything actually happens further to humiliate the Palestinians, they may start killing Christians in the North. For example, when Osama bin Laden was apprehended, they started killing their own countrymen, fellow Nigerians who live in the North. Yeah, it's an Islamic thing, Sunnis. So, which is the problem we have?
Coming after this man, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're coming after me. So, what you have to see is what I said when I first came in here. We are lucky that United African Union, for example, when Gaddafi was trying to put something together, didn't come about. If it does, we're in trouble. We Christians, we'll be in trouble. They're going to be worse than what the West did to our continent. These people, instead of trying to figure a way to rival outside enemies, people who've come to Africa and bastardized, stole, enslaved, and did all kinds of things, that is none of their business. Their problem are the Christians and people who are progressive trying to move the country along. That's who they want to humiliate and wipe out of the continent. They're serious about wiping us out. So that's why there's no progress in Africa, period. You're never going to see a Muslim, for example, quote Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King. Those are enemies to them. Not to mention the Lord Jesus
Brother,
Christ.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, let me just
based on
land
what
on
you
that.
said now.
Yeah, let me land on so that it doesn't make it look like I'm unreasonable. What I'm saying is that Gaddafi, unbeknownst to a lot of Africans, was putting together a formidable force made of Africans. In essence, he came up. He went and thought about how do I rival the menace of Western powers such as the United States. So he was going to cobble together African states and fighters and stuff like that. That was his mission. Luckily for us, the United States, out of their own interest, not because they care about us, they had to cut him down. That's why they destroyed him. You could see once that happened, the swamp he was putting together there was a fallback, and we endured it. A bunch of terrorists coming in, killing a lot of Christians, kidnapping girls from secondary schools, doing all kinds. There was ammunition all over the place, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. They have no respect for others, because we have external enemy that we all have in common, right? Europeans disrespected us, took us as slaves. Not only that, they're now taking our resources without respect. You go to Congo and you see what they're doing over there. They're pitting one tribe against the other, one country against the other, up to today. So when you come to Nigeria, which is a very important country as far as galvanizing and having integration, and they're there letting these people use them to steal, neocolonize us and kill us. That's right now in Nigeria, there's not a single activist, young people who are fighting for the freedoms, for justice, for equality. They've rounded all of them up. Maybe a couple escaped into exile, but they're languishing in prison. Somebody like Showore, for example, is still going through court battles. I don't think you know who that is, but it's one of our fine younger people who cares and trying to do the right thing. They've been prosecuting this guy. You have another one that's called Nnamdi Kanu, who's fighting, albeit regionally, for Muslims to stop killing his people, and they've got him. They have a Sunday Boho. I guess he was just finally released. So what we're going through is miniature of what you see in Israel, where there's a clash of traditions. But fortunately for the Israelis, they got it on the chin from these people thousands of years ago, had them dispersed all over the world. But they don't forget. So they want to learn how to deal with this thing. They want to make the friends and came back home and took their country back and took their place back. So people are going to go, oh, they're whites. No, they're whites because they've been gone for a long time in climates that changed their color. They've been gone that long.
No, some of them actually come from the Middle East too. Pam said. I mean, a lot of
some of them come from there, but some of them.
A good 1/3 of them came from the Middle East, where a lot of Middle Eastern countries kicked them out. They kicked them out after the nation of Israel been created.
Right. But what I'm saying is that if you see sometimes you're going to see a pure white person and say I'm Jewish, right? Yeah, maybe the Jews come from their mother's pen. If your mother is Jewish, then you're Jewish, right? So that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm not giving them leeway here. I'm not excusing them. They've done a lot wrong too. But what I'm saying is that if you go and you take over people's land because you're strong, because look at what they did in the past. Imagine this. Let me just end with this. I know Nilotic wanted to say something.
Yeah, because I know Al wanted to go.
Oh, okay. So let me end with this. All you have to do is just check out all the centers of learning in the past. For example, Egypt, right? They took Egypt. Up to today, Egypt is an African country. Blacks that built all those pyramids, and they're sitting there, they're looking stupid. They don't even know what to do with those pyramids, aside from assaulting it, opening it up, and digging it out. They have nothing to do with that. They took over that place. They took over Jerusalem. They took up a lot of places. So it's only Africans that are not able to say, hey, you guys, you're going to have to evacuate this Egypt. It's ours. I don't know where the hell they come from, but next door, the Nubians have pyramids just like Egypt. So what they're doing up to today is to fight Nubia. So let me just end it with that. But I just want to tell you that the claim that Israel is making is not unique to them, because scientifically could show that it also happened in Egypt. It's just that we do forget. But the Jews don't forget. So as you see that humiliation going on there, I wanted to stop, but it has a lot of this. Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Al, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon from the UK. Pansat, I'm listening to you. Well, first of all, let me go to the main topic, then I'll respond to Pansat. I mean, you guys made a great contribution so far. Israel, in terms of the African Union, because at the end of the day, what's going on in Israel, and Palestine, that's not our fight. We don't have a dog in that fight, man. It's not our, our thing. The reality is we should side to whoever benefits us, because at the end of the day, the Jewish and the Arabs, they're cousins. Remember that. Go back to history. These people are all similar people. And at the same time, us Africans shouldn't take sides. And in terms of where we choose where alliance lie. However, looking at people dying, children dying, women dying, that's just a sad thing to see from any side, whether it's a Jew or it's a Palestinian. To get back to Pansat saying Islam want to take over Africa, the African Union is Islam. I mean, this is all conspiracy, bro. If you look at West Africa in general, the reason why we were able to defeat the white colonial masters, it's because we already embraced Islam, right? Way before they came to the continent, right? That enabled us to be grouped as a one group. And I can name you, I don't know how many people from your ancestors you can name me that actually physically lost their life fighting Europeans. Yeah. But I can tell you, from a person of a Muslim background, I know a lot of my ancestors, I can name you 3-4 that lost their life fighting, chasing Europeans out of West Africa to give you home where you call Southeastern Nigeria today. So, it's quite narrow-minded to actually think it's a religion that made us still suffering, or, Islam, there's some conspiracy on Islam against Christian, or if Christians are more better, have more morals than Muslim. At the end of the day, yeah, both from this religion came into our people, yeah, and they brought bad things and good things to our people. So it depends on how we actually, choose to live with it, or we can go back to our own traditional religion. So you cannot, basically, be blaming the next man for his own religion, based on, the bad activities that they carried on. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of good Christian and bad Christian, and good Muslim and bad Christian, bad Muslim. But the reality is, you said about, activists in Nigeria also, like Nnamdi Kanu and, who else did you name? I mean, Nnamdi Kanu is not an activist.
Sure.
Sure is all right. I would say Sure is all right. I wouldn't, if there's anyone, it's probably more of an activist, Sure. Nnamdi Kanu is not an activist. He's actually a pro, he's more like the terrorist of the Christian side, because that's where he decided to side with, right? So for you to come here and contradict yourself as you speak is actually, it's
okay,
very
let me respond.
dishonest.
Let me respond to the two things you said, and I'll give you back to you, right? So you don't pile on a lot. Number one, you are 1,000% wrong in what you just said right now. When we had our independence, I don't know where the hell you're from. Maybe it's different where you're from.
Okay. Let me tell you. Let me tell you where I'm from. I'm a Fulani from Sierra Leone. Freetown.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, hold on. So, Al, nice meeting you, by the way. But in our own country, when our people decided to have independence from Britain, right? The Muslims in the north say they're not ready, that they don't want it. We had to go and try to beg them and do all kinds of things so they could allow us to have that independence, right? That's the way it is. It's not an abstract. It's not a story. You just Google it. They don't deny it. Now, you and I don't think we met before. I don't know if we met before, but there's somebody else who's a Fulani from Sierra Leone that comes on the one-man show, and he's a normal guy. the Fulanis we have in our country is quite different from the one from where you're coming from, right? So, but you're mentioning Nnamdi. To you, Nnamdi Kanu is not a good actor because he actually claims to be Jewish, not just supporting them, right? He claims that his lineage is Jewish. So we're in an intersection of a clash of tradition, the Islamic tradition and the Western tradition. We Christians in Nigeria, we embrace the Western tradition.
Me,
right?
It was me.
Yeah,
It was me.
Pardon?
It was me.
It was you, right? So you do remember that, and you were quite a nicer guy in that occasion because you did admit it. You actually admitted it. You say,
I did not say because you come from the Jewish. I said
no. I'm. What do you say? Let me understand. Was that you that I met before? That's a Fulani from another country?
No. You know. Yes.
Was that you?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and you
Possibly.
said in your country is a Christian leader right now, right?
Yes.
And the Muslims.
Most of our leaders were. Yes.
Yeah. Most of our
leaders are Christian.
Okay, thank you.
And Christians, yes.
Yeah, that's a totally different culture from what we have in our country. The Fulanese in our country.
I know. I agree. I understand. Pastor, I agree with that. I understand. I think Nigerian, the Fulani are more conservative, to the kind of Fula people I come from, which I think, that's because of geography and lack of exposure and lack of education. Is what causes it. Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, with that stipulation, there comes quite a lot of consequences because you say that, right? You are not forever precluded from joining the two. When we're talking now, we're talking from the perspective of the Nigerian Fulanis, right? So don't ever take anything as an insult to Fulanis who are not like the ones that we're familiar with, right? They're minority. They're about 5 to 6.
I mean, the thing is, right? What you gotta understand is, my principle is, I respect people of all religion, regardless, what they believe, whether it's traditional religion or Christian or Muslim. I respect that, and I believe majority of the Fullers in Nigeria or Fulani, like the Hausa Fulani, probably think the same way. However, they might be the few bad ones might have tarnished the rest of the majority good ones in your mind, and this is what I'm seeing, and which is a bit of concern.
Yes, it is, because it's not benign, right? If it's a benign thing, fine, but this is the foundation of the whole thing. If you're gonna lead, that's okay. You don't have to be a Christian or a Muslim or Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba to lead. As far as you're leading,
it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter. No, it should not. But if the pattern, as a matter of fact, to a scientific degree, is that you don't know what the hell you're doing, you're not going to school, you're not having your people go to school, you build no monuments, ones that can be seen from the skies, from space, for example, right? And you collaborate with the enemies outside to colonize your people. Have them take the oil that we have. This is the only thing we have.
I think.
So it's not benign.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Northerners, the Northern Nigeria, the Hausas in the north, and the Fulanis in the north are Muslim, majority Muslim, and some of them are very conservative, and some of them are not conservative. Right?
I really don't like that. I don't like that euphemism you're using. That euphemism of conservative is not proper because it's an improper use of a euphemism in this case. They're not conservative. I'm conservative.
But that's a fact, though. That's a fact. You cannot.
What I'm saying is that if you listen to what I'm saying, listen to me, right? Let's not do propaganda unwittingly. That's what I'm trying to correct.
That's what I'm trying to avoid here.
Yeah, but listen, that's why I'm
trying to avoid you doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that when you say somebody's conservative, I'm conservative, but I'm not gonna go take a bus and load up 200 to 300 girls from a secondary school. and distribute them in the mosques. Right? That's not being conservative. That's
Right.
being a
Okay.
terrorist. That's terrorism. Yeah.
Pansa. Okay. Pansa. Do you know Boko Haram, right? Which you are claiming is to do with the Hausa and the Fulani. They are not to do with the Hausa and the Fulani. So this is what I'm trying to say to you. You're not, if you're not careful, some of the stuff that you say, due to lack of, knowledge of what you're talking about, can be very dangerous.
No, but the danger
Boko
is
Haram,
listen, it's not Boko Haram.
Hang on. The event that you just described, you are painting the majority of the northern Nigeria as the people that are actually doing this. The reality is,
but there's a Fulani Huntsman. Hold on. There's a Fulani Huntsman
that's a total,
that are even more deadly.
That's a totally, but that's a totally different thing to the religious. Don't mix them up. Let's not go from Boko Haram to Fulani herdsman or to banditry. Let's stick to one thing, right? You said, right, the issue, that the situation that you just described, you're describing Boko Haram. Boko Haram is not a Fulani or a Hausa group. There might be a tiny bit of Fulani or Hausa in that group, but they don't belong to this group.
Oh, come on, bro. Oh, why are you lying? So where do the other Boko Haram members?
No, hold on a minute. Can you just be quiet for a minute? I'm talking to Pansa. This is
no, just be honest. Answer. Where do they come from?
No.
Who constitutes Boko Haram?
Boko Haram, majority of Boko Haram is from Kanuri, from the Borno northeastern region. Do your research. And Boko Haram is not funded by Muslims. Boko Haram is funded by the French, by the Europeans, the Crusaders, that Pansat think are the better ones over the Muslims, right? So you got to understand the issues that you're facing before you start complaining. But if you don't understand it, you're in problem. The former President Buhari said it. Boko Haram is being funded by the French. The French has been in Niger for years. They've been doing this. You know where they're coming from, Niger, Chad. That's where the French been based for years.
Oh, okay, right? Brother. If the French fund me today, am I going to go and turn around and start killing my own people? Or
honestly, I'm not going to engage any dumb conversation with you. I was having a very interesting conversation with Pansat.
No, just be honest, man. Like, why are the French able to fund you?
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. If you carry on talking to me, I will have to stop because I'm talking to Pansat.
You're talking to me, but you're not.
Bro, you're not answering the question.
No, but you're not trying to be honest. If you're not trying to be honest and have a honest
conversation. I'm asking you a question, but you're not even answering it. If the French funded me today, okay, brother, let me just ask you, if the French funded me or anyone on this panel today, are we going to go and turn around and kidnap girls or do whatever or kill our own local people that are from
No, I do not support it. I don't support it. I'm not with it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree at all. However, if someone accuse one group of doing these things, which actually that group does not belong to, those people do not belong to that group, you got to make sure you get that clear. When we're having a conversation online, this is recorded. It's going to be on this tape for a long time, for years, for others to listen to. So you got to make sure everything that you say here is factual. It's not based on emotion. Do you understand?
All right, let me.
Have I made myself clear?
Yeah,
because otherwise it's a very dangerous precedent that you're setting. And I understand. I totally agree.
Can I ask you this? Wait, brother, can I ask you this? Okay, yes, you answered my first question. What I'm trying to get is, yes, the French can fund you, but they cannot put the ideology in your head to go and kill based on religion or whatever. Like, that ideology already has to exist within you. And then the French or some outside can come in and then fund you to go and carry out that ideology so that they can destabilize you. The brother above you is asking where does that ideology initially come from? Where does it come from?
If you go to majority of Christians are living in northern Nigeria, right? And you don't hear Christians and Muslim having a war in Nigeria. You have minority of Muslim in the northern Nigeria that actually been brainwashed by some sect of the religion, which we have Christian extremism also. yeah, which you cannot
No, we
deny.
don't. No,
Yeah,
no, we don't.
yeah.
Hold on.
You do
Al,
have
let me,
Christian
let,
By the way,
extremism.
can you hold
There's
on, please?
extremism in all
Yeah,
religion.
hold on, please. No, there is no moral
You know what?
equivalence.
Okay, I'll let you two carry on. I'll come back to
Uh,
you in a minute. I'm
no,
doing
please,
something.
don't go anywhere because I want. It's gonna take me a
No,
couple of
hang on.
minutes.
I'm doing something. I have to. You just
Okay,
you and him carry on. I'll back in a minute. 1 second.
Okay, but please listen when you're gone. Nilotic, you want to say something before I want to respond to him? Maybe I'll yield to you and then I'll come back when he's back.
Yeah, I was going to
Everything.
say it's a false equivalency to say there's Christian extremism and Muslim extremism and all religions have extremism. Look, let's just be honest. Of course, all religions have extremism, but that's like comparing someone who's shoplifting to someone who's a serial killer or a mass murderer. Like those two are not on the same level. If we put Muslim extremism and the amounts of lives that has taken and the destruction that it has caused versus Christian extremism, it's not even on the same level to where you can even compare. So you can't even compare those two and say, oh, all religions have this problem. No, it's mostly a one religion problem, if we're being honest.
I mean, it's not even something that should be discussed. If somebody, especially somebody I have respect for, such as Al, because he comes from Sierra Leone, I was listening to him. I say, hey, okay, maybe I should take another look. This is not generic because their own Fulanis are normal. He said the majority of the presidents they have in their country are Christians, and there's no problem. It just depends on who's producing the best, right? So I haven't looked at that claim, but at least I respect him enough to take it the way it is. But when he comes here and he uses euphemism after euphemism, it's a conservative. No, we gotta get serious here. This is a serious issue. This conversation started off with the Israeli Hamas problems that we're looking at, but boy, would it be it was silly for us to talk about that when we have the same problem in our country. These horsemen, they use all kinds of reasons. They call it pastoral, I don't know, what they have, pastoral clash or whatever because of resources, arable lands and stuff across Nigeria. But it's mostly a Muslim invasion of our country and trying to kill a lot of our people. Now, when I'm talking about a lot of people, I'm talking about thousands of people. United Nations doesn't care. Now, it's not like, let me just land on this. But it's not like when it was harmless, because they were pretty much stupid coming out of the forest and grazing their thing and daggering somebody. That's different. Now they're sophisticated enough to plant one of their own at the United Nations. I mean, J. Mohammed. So no matter how many people are killed, it goes to the UN, they just toss her out because she's there. Very eloquent, very beautiful. She looks like Queen Elizabeth's twin. She's a British Fulani, very beautiful woman. Knows what to do there.
I'm back. When are you ready for me?
Yeah. So yeah, please. I hope you've been listening. What I'm saying is that
I wasn't. I was out.
Okay.
I'm just in one of those crusaders.
Yeah, you have.
I just came out of one
much.
of those crusaders military barracks, so I couldn't be on the phone.
All right, it's okay.
Yeah, go on.
Hey, look, you haven't missed much. Here's what I'm saying, right? We have to go so far that what we gotta start is we shouldn't even start from the beginning. We gotta start from the middle because we're educated people. We're supposed to say X, Y, Z is true, right? And when it's not true, we make the adjustment. But we got far to go. Our country is under siege by these people. I don't know any other place but in Nigeria. Same people, no difference. I mean, what they've done methodically.
Pansat, you are not here bullying the kids, are you? Are you bullying the kids?
No. One man, leave him with me. I'm with him. One man, just leave me on Pansat today, bro.
He likes to do that to me, but listen to this. Al, what I'm saying is that in our country, they methodically came in the early 20th century, and they've taken over the Hausa tribe, for example. Now they call themselves Hausa Fulani.
Who do you mean they? Who you mean they? Like who?
Fulanis.
Fulanis came when?
They came to the north and corrupted the Hausas, emasculated them, right? But listen, this is serious. They corrupted them, emasculated them.
No. Pastor, you have to take. Listen, when as you speak it, I have to make sure we get this right. Fulani came to northern Nigeria and corrupted the Hausa.
Yes. Right?
How?
I'm gonna tell you. By religion.
No, you got to make this okay. Let's stick to that before we go any further. How did the Fulani corrupted the Hausa?
Okay, you have to listen now because I'm a human being. I'm gonna be naming them serially. So it's not when I name the first one you try to stop me. If I can name it all at one time, I will do it, but I can't. So number one, they corrupted them by religion, by marriage. So they in the beginning let a facade to make them believe you have the Hausa Fulani as a tribe, as one tribe. But now they say no, we're not one tribe. Look, you're ugly, you have kinky hair, we have straight nose, we're taller, things like that. So, but they kept the Hausa language, which is what gives the Hausa some kind of umbrage, right? But they're not the same. You don't have a single Hausa in high office. You don't have a single Hausa as a mayor, right? It's all Fulanese, period, right? So they can't even talk. They're ashamed of themselves because now the Hausa then help them conquer others or fight others. But now they begin to see that they're no different. You know, just yesterday, the guy they used as a thief or Beramite, somebody from Plateau State called General Gowon. He's the one that led Nigerians to go and fight Christians in the Southeast for that genocide war, right? He died yesterday.
No. Pansa, before you go into Gowon, first of all, I'm gonna let me correct. First of all, if I count one out of 10, how much do you hate Fulani? If I count 1 out of 10, how much do you hate Fulanis?
I don't measure. Listen, I don't. The currency that I measure human beings is
no.
Let me
answer my question.
I'm answering it.
If I count 1 from 1 to 10, how much do you hate Fulanis?
I don't use hate. That's not the measure.
How much do you dislike Fulani? If 1 out of 10.
10.
Huh?
10.
10. You hate you dislike Fulani 10, right?
Yes.
I can see why you actually propagating propaganda against Fulani people.
I'm not. I'm telling you.
I can see why a lot of platform, except one man that's so kind to you, because he probably feels sorry for you, let you come in and speak now and again. You lied about one thing, right?
What is it?
Let me just correct you. You lied about one thing to start with. That's why I'm asking you. You said the Fulani brought Islam to the Hausa. Yeah?
I did not say that. I did not say that.
No, you did.
I did not say that. No,
You did. Everybody that listened to the show.
Roll it back. I said they corrupted them. They corrupted them with religion. I didn't say they brought the religion to them. I believe somebody in the south, the northeast, first had introduction. Listen to me. The northeast were the first to introduce
all right, okay.
Islam. But if you then come and you take that advantage, right, and then use that religion for camaraderie, right?
Stop flip-flopping.
Hey, listen. Al. I'm not gonna.
Wait. Let me just finish.
You now, right? If you're not gonna be civil, then I'm gonna turn around and give you a little bit, right? So become. Let's have a civil discussion. All right. When you want to talk, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna be civil, but don't try to
flip-flop.
Don't try to be disorderly.
Stop. No.
Go ahead. Be in order.
No. Stop. Just be quiet.
You're a madman. You're a Fulani for real. So if you're done, I'll be exiting because I'm not just talking. We're gonna deal with you. That's the point. Is that we're not gonna let you do it. How about that? It's not about talking.
Just be quiet.
We're not gonna let you.
1 second. Let me respond to you first.
We're gonna
stop you. Let me just respond.
It's not about talking. We're gonna stop you.
No. Let me try to respond.
You are the weak one. As you watch that fight right now in Israel, you see who is weak there, right? You see the weaker one? They're talking nonsense now. So we're going to stop you from doing it. That's what I'm going to say. All right? So it's not about starting the hubris.
You claim the House of
deal with it.
Can I ask you both a question?
Or not?
Can I ask you both a question?
Sure.
I hear one appears to be Muslim bias, and the other one is Christian bias. Yeah?
Have you finished? Have you finished?
Let him talk.
Is he finished?
You're out of order.
You okay? You already disqualified. You already disqualified anything you said about Fuller people, yeah? Because you already said you hate Fuller people 1 out of 10 times. So if you do like people, you come out and say all kind of bullshit about them just to make yourself feel better.
No, you
Because
can't be
your
killing
soul
my people,
is
and I'm
empty
liking
and
you.
you're
You
sad.
want me to like you? Stop killing my people.
No.
Look,
I don't listen. We don't want you to like. I don't
love
want you
and
to like
like
my
is
people.
transient, right? You could do something to
No.
me, I'm gonna like
I
you
don't.
again. If you're killing my people, I'm not gonna like you. You goddamn right.
You are
I don't
killing
like
your
you
own
because you're
people,
killing my
bruv.
people.
You are killing. Namdi Kanu is killing your own people.
That is not true.
As a person, stop my boys from beating up Namdi Kanu, your God, in London when I was a young youth living. He used to live around the corner from my uncle. Do you understand
Thank
me?
you.
I stopped him getting beaten up, and he's your God.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you.
But
It's not my
anyway,
God.
first of
I
all,
didn't say that. You're making noise, man. Relax. Calm down. Calm down.
no,
When
but
you're talking to me, you have to use
stop it.
your intuition when you're talking to me. It's
You
not
don't
by
have one, so I
frequency.
cannot talk to you
You
with that
cannot
because you
do
don't
the
have one.
modulation by frequency or amplitude, right?
You don't
Use
listen.
common
When someone
sense.
have no
Stop.
brains, you don't talk to them like
Use
that
your
because
head.
they're gonna take it in.
Okay, we
Are
have
you
a
listening?
breakdown. We have a breakdown in conversation here. So let's use some diplomatic.
This low IQ man, yeah, this low IQ kun, yeah, need to stop spreading fake news and propagandas because he belonged to a group that been defeated by all of the tribe, yeah, because they do not want to live along with other people, yeah, and what they do, yeah, they actually are the biggest sellout in the country that have sold Nigeria to the pot. If you go to his region, the only people killing people is his own people. And you go to Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa killing your people, bruv. It's not Fulani killing your people. Fulani have nothing to do with Igbo people, bruv. We don't even know what
Okay,
nothing about
so
Igbos.
let me answer you.
We
Hold
have
on, let me answer
nothing to do with
Would
you.
would
You're the
let
one
me
that
answer you.
obsessed with our
I got the
people.
point. Yeah, I
You
got the
are
point. So what?
obsessed with
Let
us.
me answer you.
Yeah, okay.
You
Let me
are
hear.
obsessed.
Tell him to
You are
shut up.
obsessed with Fulani.
It's out of
Yeah,
order.
I got your point.
You're son of
Let
a
me
bitch, bro.
hear.
Just shut up.
Yeah, okay.
This man is a
Let me
coon.
hear Hansat.
Yeah,
He's a
thank you
West
very much.
man, man. Yeah, that man is a
So,
blood clot West man.
Al,
Nah,
I heard your point. I heard your point. I got
could
the
you
point.
mute him because you can't let it be up to him to be civil.
Go
Mute
and
him if he
suck your
doesn't
mom.
want
I'll be back in a minute.
So here's the point in our. I'm sure you already know. In our country, there's just not one particular.
I'll be back in a
spot.
minute. 1 second.
Okay.
If you have to, you could come back. But look, sir, the problem in our country is not just one hot spot. We have whatever the Igbos are complaining about, the thieves are complaining about that in Benue, right? Has nothing to do with Southeasterners or Igbos.
We're talking about Israel and Palestine, and they bring in Benue in here, and you
It's
lose
all in there.
villages, bro.
It's all in there.
You are
It's your
sad,
people.
man.
Your people, Hamas, are making trouble over there. But Israel is not going to put up with it. And we're going to do the same thing over here.
Hamas, Hamas is my people.
Oh no.
So listen to what I'm saying.
You know what? You need to get rid of him. Get rid of him. Kaizu, get rid of that man, please.
The teams are complaining that the Fulanese are taking their land. But not only taking their land, but killing them, putting them in IDP camps. I'm talking about scores a day. Scores. Unfairly. Now, you go to the Kaduna axis of the country. It's like northwest in a way, kind of central, but the way we count things in Nigeria, it's a northwest. You go to Zaria, the northern part of Kaduna. You have the Shia, right? They're Muslims, but they're Shia. They're nemesis to these Sunnis. Like I said, the problem we have is a Sunni Islamic problem in the country. These people, if you just go on YouTube, you Google it, they massacred over 1,000 in one afternoon or 2 afternoons and buried them in mass graves. That has nothing to do with Igbos. But to be song-sick, now, you know, Sunday, obviously, he's complaining. You have Fulanis in their forests in the southwest. Yorubas. They're not Igbos, have not this complaint is the same. That's how dumb Africans are. You want to partition it. But the complaint is the same. The symptom is the same. It's the same disease. So these are Kaduna Shias in Zaria, because that's poverty in the country. The leaders are not doing anything. Have a lot of youth have no preoccupation. They're not going to school. So a charismatic leader is able to influence them, called El Zazaki. So you have a lot of youth in that movement, right? But this up to today, the Nigerian government is killing those people at least half a dozen a day. But on this one particular afternoon in December 2015, they killed over 1,000.
Right. Okay, I got the point now.
So you get the point. So that
yeah. Okay. So let me ask you a question.
You also go to the south of that state, Kaduna, right? Southern Kaduna. Then is the Christians that they let them have it over there. They're killing scores a day.
Okay. All right. I got the point. There's no killing going on.
EP camps. Yeah.
Okay. So watch this. Let me ask you a question. So, if you're in a position of power now, and you have a good understanding of the Abrahamic history and its impact on Africa.
Yes.
Listening to you speak, I understand that you understand that. So, is it true that you see what's taking place in Israel, the Israeli-Palestine situation? I think you said it is similar to the situation in Nigeria, for example, or Africa. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what you were saying earlier on. Okay.
Yes.
So, by hearing that, I would assume that the solution for Africa would be similar to the solution for the Israeli-Palestine situation.
Not
correct?
Just similar, exact, right?
Exact. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. Good. All right. So, explain to me how you see that solution.
Okay.
How does it work, and what's
right?
How does the power dynamics work?
Yeah, the reason why, that's a very, very interesting, very good question. I'm not going to be able to treat it as fairly with all the what you may call it that goes with that. But here's what the issue is. It's like a culture thing with the Muslims, right? And the Islamic tradition, it's embedded with the text of their religion. So part of it is religion, but part of it is trying to be clever, trying to be tricky, right? It's just their culture. So you could never have them argue, debate. The only thing they respect.
Yeah, 1 second, Pastor. Let me just shout out to the sponsors of this show. Shout out to One Man, Bantu, with the £2, and also shout out to Ike Ogiamien, the Benin prince there with the $60 to get rid of Al for Al being a bitch ass nigga. Shout out to, and also shout out to Al for being a bitch ass nigga, so we get paid. Let's get it. Let's continue.
The crazy Ike, he's sponsoring a lot of good shows. We thank God for him. So now, the point I'm making is this. The only language, unfortunately, they understand is force. That's it. When you could be arguing with them all day. They'll be saying, oh, somebody did something 3,000 years ago. Right? What does that have to do with anything? You got to progress. You got to be fair. They will never be fair because, okay, if it's just one religion, then fine, you have a case. But if you go to India and Pakistan, okay, here you are. You look alike. I can tell you one from the other. You don't get along there. And they divide from you, right? And they sell. They divide and they start doing good, better than you're doing. Now, you come to our country now, or let's say in the United States. They went and they knocked down America's Twin Towers, right? So their trick is to have somebody who has nothing to lose wandering around the mountains, go and knock out America's Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. So George Bush says, I'm not going to try to sit here and figure out who did it, exactly who did it. All of you did it. So he went after Saddam Hussein, at least somebody who has land, has oil, has something to lose. Okay. Not only that, he went after a series of them that made them stop. Then we have some peace here. He went after them in that. Like I have some Muslim friends. In 2001, they will come to me shaking. They're scared that he's going to go after another one, right? So what I'm saying to you basically is that the Takia argument that we make, Israel is not going to listen to that kind of debate. So in our country right now, we have the judiciary taken over, executive taken over, the House taken over. So when we budget 400 billion naira to do an election, they just turn off the beaver machine. They just turn it off.
Right. Okay.
And it's like, okay, what are you going to do about it? And they want to start arguing with you. If you go and you forge a certificate, this institution says, hey, that's a forgery. We didn't, they may not say that's a forgery, they say we didn't issue it. It's a forgery. So the people vote for an election, you wouldn't let the true person who won the election emerge, or at least be transparent, show the stuff. So you're doing that hubris based on your strength. And now, if all Nigerians get together and then go after them, they're gonna be like Hamas.
All right. 1 second.
Yeah, who that?
Let's hear from Afro-Asiatic just to break away, just to pause from Pansa's propaganda for a moment. Afro-Asiatic.
Okay, what man? He left.
Afro-Asiatic.
He left. Is he here?
Afro-Asiatic's here.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think his mic might be muted.
Yes, good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. Peace, Kaizo. Peace to the panel. I just wanted to add on to the conversation about the CIA and how they actually developed the Taliban, and the Mujahideen was actually a product of Western intelligence. Not only the CIA, but Mossad, MI6, they developed the Mujahideen to fight Russia, to get Russia out of Afghanistan. I believe it's a similar set of circumstances that we see taking place in Africa with Boko Haram, with certain factions of Boko Haram.
Okay.
And I don't, yes, sir. And I don't think that we should overlook the history of that in Afghanistan, and what I believe is going on in Africa with Boko Haram and a radicalization of certain Islamic factions that will actually work against the interest. Just to add that to the conversation. Thank you.
Right. So how would you see that, Pansat? That the Muslim power is really not the Muslim power. It's basically the West behind them. So you're not really fighting Islam then, are you, Pansat? You're fighting something else.
Well, it's a hodgepodge. That's a little bit of that, right? That's a lot of people who make money from violence and who also like to just suck it to us. They haven't had enough. They enslaved.
So would you agree then? Would you agree that what Afro-Asiatic was saying, would you accept that it is possible that the problems that you described earlier on and the violence that you described earlier on in great detail is not actually being caused by the people you think are behind it? It's actually the West. It's actually the West behind that violence.
Yeah,
can you accept that possibility?
No. Here's what it is, right? It's a dichotomy. Both things are at play, right?
Pansat will not accept it because he's blinded by his prejudice, so he won't accept
it. Stay at debate. Don't come in like a ghost and run away. So, here's the thing. From the Islamic perspective, from there, see, these Westerners, they're very smart. They already know how to colonize. They studied it. If you go to college, the first year in college, 101, politics 101, they're gonna tell you. It's not like it's hidden. What they're doing is they know that these people hate us. They know that Muslims hate Christians, right? So what do? They use that. They use them to then go after their own interests. Do you follow me? These Western countries, they're rational actors. So they deal in relative terms, not absolute, right? They're not doing it out of religion. Let's say they want oil in South Nigeria. They know it's not sexy to just come there and take that oil. The United Nations, other people are going to. So what they will do, they will use somebody from outside who has no business over there, like the Fulanese, and then use it to take that oil, right? and they're gonna tell them, hey, look, we're using you to take this oil. This oil doesn't belong to you, so you do what we tell you to do. Do you follow what I'm saying? So they do so in Congo, they do so in Niger, whatever their mineral resources. What they will do is to go and get an alien tribe to be in charge of those resources. So it's not like just in Nigeria. So now, for the Fulani, his turn is to show supremacy of Islam to Christianity. He wants to dominate the Christians, right? Okay, so now these outside enemies of ours, they know that. So then they use them, arm them, disarm us. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, just like in the war and stuff like that.
Okay.
They have no intellectual property. They don't win Nobel Prizes. They don't go to school. They don't even dress like. At least you want to be a mechanic. You want to wear clothes, a jeans, so you could go become a mechanic. They're wearing clothes that are dresses and things on your head where you can't get into an engine and fix something. Get your hands dirty. You
okay, so watch this.
All right, so that's what it is.
All right, good, very good, very good. I like the way you clarified that, and plus listening to Afroasiatic, his point there. So, based on what you just said, would you accept that it is true that if a group of people profess to have a religion and to serve their God and to be on direction of their own God, if another entity or another group of people who are serving, I don't know which God, if that group of people can use that other group of people, that means that their God must be superior. Their God is overruling the other God. So if the Fulani have Allah as God and they're terrorizing the Christians, and then you have another entity use the Fulani, that means they're using the people and their God. Would you accept that that is true?
Not at all, but I understand what you're saying, right? The thing though, like remember when I told you before that Britain towards beginning of 20th century was like almost like a hegemony, right? They were all over the place. They had the power. So when they went and created a homeland for the Jews in Palestine, they weren't trying to do me a favor, right? So you go over there, it's a hornet's nest, right? And you go put these people over there. Luckily for the Jews, the Brits were pushed aside and the United States emerged. And a lot of these Jews then flowed into the United States and then got some power in the United States, right? Because it was untenable. Do you think Britain could have saved Israel from these 9 Arab states, as courageous and wicked as those people are, hateful, violent? There's no way. They would have vanquished the Jews a long time ago. They would have just wiped them out. The Jews, for example, if you read Merchant of Venice and all kinds of things, the Jews went like they were beloved in Britain or Europe, even, or anywhere they've been, even in Egypt, because obviously they're troublemakers. Somebody say here that they're cousins, right? They are truly cousins. They're both troublemakers. Let's face it.
So
what I'm saying is that they got lucky that the United States is able to guarantee their existence there. Else they'll be done.
Okay, so what was this power then that you're talking about? So you're saying, you just said that the Jews, so that the British gave the Jews the land, but they couldn't do it, and the Jews were lucky. That's what you just said, that they got back up from America.
They them from their countries. These Europeans
okay.
Get rid of the Jews and give me a homeland where
so
they
I'm trying to. Okay, good point. But I'm trying to focus on power. So, what is this? What is the nature?
It's not God. It's not their God being more powerful. As a matter of fact, they are.
What?
It's not their Allah being more powerful than Jehovah. The Arabs and the Islamic world are actually in existence today because Jehovah is a merciful God. Because if you unleash what the Christians have, right? If Christians want to take over the world today, if it was that kind of religion, they would in hours take over the place. Everywhere.
All right, let's go. Let's walk.
You follow
walk
me?
me through
But
this.
that's not their religion.
Wait a minute, Pascal. let's walk through this. Let's walk through this. Okay. So what is the power that enabled the Americans to defend and expand Israel at the detriment of Palestine? What is the nature of this power?
Okay.
From your
The
perspective.
nature, it's called freedom, liberty,
freedom,
and liberty, and
freedom and
especially
liberty.
That's right. The Israelis happens to be the closest thing. Now they're not. America is not doing it because of love of Israel. America is doing it to protect their interest in that part of the world. It's a lot of oil there. It's a lot of things they discovered over there. Of course, you have the religious angle. There are things in the Bible that I don't think plays the central role. That needs to be fulfilled, like the Israelis coming back home, taking back their land.
Pansat. So Pansat, this so this power, freedom and liberty.
Yes.
Okay. So is that the name of the God of America? Is that the source of power?
No, it's part of the attributes of the Christian God. Okay, United States is Judeo-Christian. It's a Judeo-Christian country, right? So what's happening? It all comes together in that land. Number one, the rest of the Arab states do not want to modernize and have democracy. Democracies don't fight one another. Autocratic societies and things like that they have over there. So to have a satellite country over there to guarantee freedom
and liberty,
trade, of commerce, of liberty for individuals, and spread in democracy and show a light. It's like a light right there for all of them to see. So that's what they do.
Hold that point there. Very good, interesting. Actually, let's explore this. So America and the Christian God, freedom and liberty are aspects. Freedom, liberty, and democracy are aspects of the Christian God. And that is the source of the American power. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow. Whoa.
Well,
America, let me expand a little bit on it, because you have to know America, when they had 16 colonies that emanated from Great Britain. They couldn't worship the way they wanted to worship, and all kinds of stuff. And there was tyranny from the king. I don't recall king. I don't know if it's James or Edward or whoever the hell he was, but he was taxing them and doing all kinds of things. So they revolted and decided they don't want a monarchy. They don't want that kind of system of government, a bloody monarchy like the Britain had. So they established democracy. Those 16 colonies they put together a constitution in 1776, and it was ratified. And then comes this experiment, right? And it was successful, because that constitution is, like, to me, the second best document in the world after the Bible. It's like it was thrown down from heaven.
Wow.
Now, was it perfect? No, it was not. There were some flaws in it. For example, the way they weren't even looking at the slaves at that time. Okay, but they didn't amended it. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with getting something wrong. When you get it right, then you amend it. So which they did. There have been so many amendments to it, probably into the 20s right now by now. So to make a long story short, that liberty, the American spirit, Second Amendment, you could own your own gun, trying to prevent tyranny of the government, protection of the individual, so you don't have tyranny of the majority. Then it gave fertile soil for innovation, all kinds of things. America is by far, even if you put the rest of the world together, they still don't touch the United States. They have a space force now. They have a $30-something trillion economy, and that's just what we know. America could print one coin, even if it's a digital coin, give it to Germany and say, here's 40 trillion, and I would take it. and do exactly what America tell them to do, because America guarantees, including Britain, the existence. Saudi Arabia. If America turns their back on Saudi Arabia, these Hamas, you see, they will take over that place overnight.
Okay, so Panzer.
You
Okay,
follow me?
hold that
Yeah.
point there. All right, it's very beautiful. So, Afro-Asiatic.
Yes, sir.
You heard Pansat's view there of America, and
Mhm.
the source of power is an aspect of Christianity, the Christian God, where freedom, liberty, and democracy, and that's where. Would you agree with that picture that Pansat's painted there?
No, and no disrespect to our brother, but I believe that that is a somewhat propagandist view. But
Wow.
what I really wanted to add on to the conversation is the Jewish power. It emanates from their control of British and U.S. banking. That is the trump
Oh,
card. That is the trump card that they
wow.
hold over the head of these governments like a sword, that they can destroy your currency, that they can debase your economy if you do
Right.
not bend to their will, and that they have enough money and control of banking to purchase and bribe our elected officials here in the US through the mechanism of what is called lobbying, which is
Okay.
actually legalized bribery. And
Ah,
they do that type of, they operate and they function through lobbying. They control our Senate, they control our House of Representatives through this system of legalized bribery that is called or softened with the term lobbying, but which is actually
right.
legalized bribery. Yeah, but they do add the religious aspect with the whole false Jewish narrative. I don't believe they are real Jews to begin with, but that's another part of the conversation. But I believe that we should look at their control of British banking and American banks as a control, as a threat to American economy and British economy.
Okay. So if we add what you're saying, or if I try and put together what Pansat was saying and what you're saying, the picture I get would be that a group of people who call themselves Jews are using the concept of freedom, liberty, and democracy, pushing that propaganda, and that has resulted in the most successful and powerful entity in this
Yes, when
current
it's when
world.
it's when it's actually imperialism. I see through it. Yes, sir.
So, Pansat, what's your response to that? Because
All right,
that
thank
fit.
you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I like the way you're conducting this, trying to find pieces of light in what we say. Nobody's inerrant, nobody knows it all. I agree in parts with what my brother Afroasiatic 19 is saying, and I disagree in part. The beauty of a pudding is in the tasting. I forget how they put that. If something is propaganda or nonsense, it wouldn't work for so long. The Jews, they have a lot of intellectual property, copyrighted. They win a lot of Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, biology. Just Google it. For a small country like that, they don't have the numbers. So it's not just banking. If a cabal, a gangster, is doing underground banking, fine. But if they also, when you go and you look at academics, you look at patents, what they've developed. For example, Einstein is Jewish from when he was, after the war, he came to the United States and he formulated all kinds of knowledge. E equals MC squared, as a popular one, so many others, and they have a lot of scholars. the Islamic world stopped doing those kind of things. Now, they used to be good in the Hammurabi period, thousands of years ago. For example, algebra, they had a lot to do with it. That's why it's called algebra. And they just lost the plot. So you can be going into conspiracy theory, and I'm somebody who believes a lot of conspiracy theories. Now, there are, though, some conspiracy theories that I don't believe, right? The American people are savvy, and a lot of Americans complain about the Jews, but that's also, they complain about blacks, they complain about whatever minority. The Jews are a minority, and they need to be protected. There are some bad actors in there. Bankers are bad actors. That's why some of us will support cryptocurrency, because we want to decentralize it. Do you understand what I'm saying? As black, yeah, we want to go into decentralization and let free everybody. Let's do our own thing. We don't want the what do you call this currency? Fiat currency. The banks are anachronistic. Their time is gone. So eventually we're gonna get there. These actors he's talking about, yeah, they play those kind of roles, and that is true. But that's not where the issues are. The issues in what you're watching on your screen. You see it, the inferiority of those who are ill prepared to go to battle, who have all the hubris, and then they suffer the humiliation time after time. This is maybe the 4th, 5th, or 6th war. Now, it doesn't hurt to have
so hold it a minute, Pastor. So listening to what you're saying, don't forget we got to this model because earlier we were talking about the relationship between Islam and the Fulani and oppressing the Christians, and then we started to look into the source of power. Yeah, and then you were saying that it's a same situation as what's taking place in Israel between the Palestinians and the Jews there, right? And then we talked about how the Jews got into Israel and got supported there sent there by the UK, and then you were saying that luckily the US backed them up, and that's why they managed to stay in that land, to stay in that position, because of the power of the US. And then we examined the power of the US. What is this power? And then you said it's freedom, liberty, and democracy. That's what America is. And then I asked Afroasiatic, well, do you agree with that model of this power source? And then he said it's Jewishness. So they were behind it all. So when the UK taking the Jews into Israel, the Jews were involved in that, and then the US defending the Jews in Israel, the Jews were behind that. So this God, this faith, it seems to be Jewishness. So is it the God of these so-called Jews, and that faith in this God or this entity is the source, the real source of power? Is that how we're seeing it? That this must be the most powerful God, then, isn't it? Because if it's behind the Jews, secretly playing behind the Hamas and the Palestinians, it must be the one God, then, isn't it? Or the one entity or spiritual entity. Is that how you're seeing it?
Yeah, I think Afro.
Go on.
Afro, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think that the Jews actually follow the God of Abraham. I think they are more satanic in their activity. They are more satanic in their activity. They use the name of the God of Abraham, but they are satanic in their activities. If we look at their behavior, the way that the way that Hitler saw them, I'm no advocate or promoter of Hitler, but he had his reasoning. He knew that they took over the German economy. He understood that. and he wanted to free the German people from that. And I think that goes overlooked. What he did was heinous, but what was his reasoning? What was the logic behind it? He knew that they controlled the
Okay.
banking system of Germany.
Interesting. So Pansat, what do you think of what Afro just said there? Would you agree with that?
I disagree with Afro-Asiatic,
Wow.
both in spirit and otherwise. Obviously, the state of Israel, has been dubious in its activities. I don't like some of their methods, and they've done a lot of bad things. And the way, especially they treat the Palestinians, it's unacceptable. It's untenable. Now, the Jewish religion itself is part of our heritage, right? One of the Abrahamic religions. They don't believe that the Lord Jesus Christ is their savior. I believe they're short-sighted in that. But it's predicted in the Bible that they will never see that light. Unfortunately for them, I wish there was a way to convince me. Now we're talking religion now. Pure religion has nothing to do with the state of Israel. State of Israel has a right to exist. I didn't used to say that. The only reason why I say that now is the same reason I don't want China to topple the United States, for example. Right? The United States, it's everybody's country. It's God's country. You're free here. Freedom of thought is guaranteed, not just in the university, on the streets. You come here, now, are they infallible? Of course not. There's no nirvana anywhere, right? Nirvana. But the United States come closest to where you could leave your place, go there, and become an American. There's no other country in the world you could do that. You come here, you be an American like everybody else. Are the cops racist? Of course, some of them are. You saw how a cop knelt on somebody's neck for over 8.5 minutes and killed that person. And the president of the country at the time, Trump, who I support, what's that? Are they talking nonsense? So it's an experiment. They're trying to form a much, much better union, right? It's not at the best that it could be, but it's miles away from anybody else. You couldn't go anywhere. For example, Muslims, you couldn't go any other place and start doing those things that they do normally. When they're here, I have a building. My tenants, some of them are Jewish, some of them are from Iran, some of them are Arab. They understand what I'm saying. But you don't even hear hip. They don't, even with this war going on, there is nothing. You don't see them fighting on the street or talking nonsense to one another. Jews have friends here. Muslims have Jewish friends. Now you come from China, even during the war. For example, during the war, the Second World War, Japanese were rounded up and put in an internment camp for the duration of the war. That was not that time, right? It's a wrong thing to do now, but at that time, I would have done the same thing. Have a group of people who could sabotage their country. So, but that's that time. But the countries moved and they regret doing that. They've compensated them. They took us as slaves. We haven't been paid on that. They need to pay us, right? They call it reparations here. They haven't matured enough to do the right thing. It's going to cost them a lot of money, but they owe it. They owe us. Took our people as slaves. They built, including our capital, the slaves built it. And it was brutal stuff. It's not a benign thing. Our people suffered a lot.
Okay.
Now,
so watch this.
Let me conclude by saying that right now, due to the Muslims back home, we now have to wait until the Americans evolve their consciousness enough to pay us. We would have been able to force them to pay us if these Muslims back home in Africa, the whole Africa, if they have sense, if they know that we have enemies, people who enslaved us, they would then try to make Africa strong. The ideas, have freedom, let women have, if you look in history, women have a lot to contribute. Women have a lot. Their own sense is different.
Okay.
They can. If women are free to think, go to school, they'll come up with a lot of things. You can't hold women down. You can't hold Christians down. You can't hold Igbos down. You can't hold everybody down. Yeah.
Let me try and keep my head. I'm trying to keep my head together here. So watch this then. So I'm trying to see the difference, subtle difference. Now, therefore, listen to what you're saying. The solution for Africa basically is the promotion of freedom, liberty, and democracy. A better form of freedom, liberty, and democracy for Africa. And the enemies of Africa would be anybody or any idea that has that is against freedom, liberty, and democracy. Those would be the real enemies of Africa, and Islam would fall under that. Okay, and listen to what.
You're a very good listener. You're a good listener.
I'm trying to get my head around this. So, and listen to what Afro Asiatic was saying. That all of this is really a trick, a hoodwink. They're pushing freedom. They're preaching freedom, liberty, and democracy, and they're using that as a tool. The so-called Jews, or people that are calling themselves Jews, are dominating US and the UK, and using the US and the UK to push the idea of freedom, liberty, and democracy in order to dominate Africa, to trick Africa and dominate Africa for its resources. And therefore, the enemy would be these people who call themselves Jews. But Pansat would say the enemy is not the people who call themselves Jews. The enemy is anybody who is against the values of freedom, liberty, and democracy. Is that the picture I'm getting?
Yeah, I would say to add on, it's in the scriptures in Revelation 3:9. Those who say they are Jews and are not, but do lie, and are of the synagogue of Satan. Now, what is interesting about that scripture is it because it calls them satanic, and it also uh, codifies them as being in synagogues. So we know right off the bat, who we're talking about or who these false ones are. I believe that it is the people that are controlling the banking systems of Britain and America. Therefore, they control their militaries. If they can debase the currency of America, if they can debase the currency of Britain, that is a very powerful trump card that they are holding over the politicians. And I wanted to add on as well, young Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso uh, is leading militant Pan-Africanism against the West. I don't think that is a factor that we can leave out of contemporary conversation, that Islamic states are actually leading the purest form of Pan-Africanism that we can find today on the planet. In my opinion, I don't know, some brothers may push back against that, but there are certainly Islamic states, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and they are pushing hard against the West militarily to get them out and take control of their own resources. France is going to be broken if they don't get the yellow cake uranium from Niger. And it's interesting that the U.S. used the Nigerian people, the people of Niger, as a tool when they went after Saddam Hussein. This is what the beef was about with Saddam Hussein. They were supposed to be saying that he was getting yellow cake uranium from Niger. So we see France mixed up in the U.S. Intelligence agencies mixed up together. Back then with Saddam Hussein. you know, and they only went and took over the oil fields. You know, they never cared about the Iraqi people or freedom or justice and equality or anything of that nature. It's just pure imperialism.
So okay. So what would your solution be for Africa based on the picture, the scenario that you've painted, where so-called Jews are using the US, UK, freedom, liberty, and democracy to
Me, me,
overpower?
me, me being a student of the Abrahamic faith systems, I would say a radical transition and reinterpretation of the Bible and the Quran, and us as a people to go into the linguistics and reinterpret the Bible and the Quran. That is what is necessary, because
Right,
both texts are full of blackness, but we would never get the black interpretation or the black or African exegesis of the Quran
right,
and Bible if we allow them to keep teaching us. But when we study the language for ourselves, we find out that the books are black, both Torah and Quran.
right, 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 right. Very good, very good. That kind of aligns very much with the way I see it, and so therefore, the magnitude of what you just said is horrific. Well, not horrific. It's kind of frightening. The size of it. You see, to what? So basically, it's basically it's reversing. It's the reversal of the curse of Ham, which has been around for a very, very
Absolutely,
long
I see
time,
three.
right? So yes, so I mean, nobody really talks on this level because I think it's the highest level, really. Because after you've been through many years talking, listening to all the debates and looking at the world, it's really about how to break a curse, how to break a spell, lift a spell, lift a curse, break a spell. Nobody really talks on that kind of level. Because that that goes down to the foundation of finance. It's the foundation of finance, isn't it? It's the faith, trust. You start moving into those realms of conversation, and when you start talking about faith, trust, investments, you're talking about you start moving to insurance, risk, and those realms. Very few. The only people that really move in those realms are people like study actuarial science. Which is the higher than accountants. you know, um, so there's not much language. The air gets really thin at that height. It's very difficult to have a conversation at that height because the air is really thin up there. The language is very thin. The words, there's hardly any words. That's where the power is, the source of power. Because it's heavy stuff. It's really heavy.
Yes, 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 sir. I think we need black theology and black.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
that. Black theology. Oh, wow. Yes, because years of black theology.
yes,
We
because
like
it's
that.
the text when we get into the linguistics, the actual poetry of the Quran and the Torah is very black and full of tropes to blackness. Uh, One would be the description of Adam as Hamar and Masnoon, meaning that the original Adam, according to the Quran, was a black man. And it's just a fact. The word
Mm,
Hamar, he's described as Hamar in Masnoon, a man that was formed from black mud. So he would have had to have been a black man originally. But they're just different concepts that have to be wrangled with in linguistics versus the Aryan exegesis or the white
right.
Arab exegesis of the Quran that we have to get rid of. We have to
Yes.
get rid of it. We have to get rid of the pale Jewish, false Jewish exegesis of the Torah. We have to get rid of it and delve into the language for ourselves. You know,
Wow.
let me
I'm
hop off
surprised to hear
though.
you say that, man. You are on it. You are on it. I haven't heard
Yes,
that kind of talking for a long time. Well, I haven't heard it actually.
let me
You are
hop
on it.
off, man. I guess I turned off, you know, some people from the panel. You know, forgive me, Kaizo. You know, my apologies, brother. Salutes to you, though. Blessings. I appreciate the channel. I appreciate the dialogues that you brothers have. I appreciate being able to come up here and build with you brothers. Peace, IC3.
Yeah. Yeah. But you on it. You just summed up the whole where the solution is, and the language
But
is thin.
I say three. Where do you think the wider point of this Hamas Israeli conflict is? Where do you think the wider point is? And do you also buy into a lot of the conspiracy theories flying around? And if you do, what are you theorizing to that space?
Yeah, so I think the conversation that we've had, just now over the last I don't know how hour or so that we've had, as we were discussing this, the Hamas Israel situation, um, and people starting to use words like never, like guys saying, "Oh, there's no way the Palestinians will defeat Israel." And Hamas, no one's got the power. So then we started to use those kind of words. It made me think about the nature of power. What is this power that makes people believe that it's hopeless to fight against the Jews? Look at the map of how they've expanded. What is this power that has enabled them to expand? And why is it believed that they're unstoppable? So therefore, you must be talking about, to make people use words like there's no way they can be defeated. It's impossible. They can never. You're talking in
Well,
the
they,
realm
they
of
cannot
God.
they cannot be defeated militarily. That certainly not by Hamas, and probably not even by the whole of the Arab world combined.
Right.
They cannot be defeated militarily. But the military victory is just a little soupçon of victory itself. Actual victory is in the moral imperative. So
Yes.
if they don't have a moral imperative, even if they are able to conquer that space militarily, they cannot hold on to it because the humanity rejects that. So
Exactly.
it's the moral imperative for that action that they are looking to embark upon. So that's
Yes.
where really their conversation is.
Yes.
About what some people are arguing, IC3, is that what this Hamas narrative is an actual orchestrated Israeli move to allow that collateral damage from Hamas in order to have that final solution over that space and just
Yes.
sweep up the whole of Palestine, and there is no Palestine no more.
Yes. I agree with that, because I think Kaiser was saying the same thing. But you see, dominating the moral high ground, or what you're saying, that the term you use, you've got to be perceived by the rest of the world. In order to hold the land, you've got to be perceived as being just or maintaining the moral high ground. And I think you used another term. What was the term you used? The moral imperative. Is that what you said?
Yeah, moral imperative. Yeah.
Yeah. So so there's a very serious connection or relationship between morality and power. Yeah, morality and power, and to be able and justice, and to be able to hold
So
land.
sorry. Do you see a dichotomy there, and how are you identifying that? Do you see a chasm between morality and power? And if you do, which one supersedes?
There is no chasm. power is based on being able to dominate or to be perceived as having the moral authority. So so the world has got to perceive or to believe that you have the moral high ground. You're sitting in the chair of the throne, the moral throne. If it's a chair, you deserve to be sitting on the moral throne, and you cannot be removed from it. Therefore, you have the right to rule, and you're ruling in justice because your ass is on the high seat, the high throne of morality, and therefore you can wield power from that throne. And
I say three. Have you ever heard of this phrase? To the victor, the spoils. To the victor, the
yes,
spoils.
yes,
Oh, okay. Have you heard of this as well? The victor writes the narrative. Have you heard that as well? The
yes,
victor,
that's right, that's right.
whoever
The
is it.
line tells the
So
story.
that's the Israeli play, isn't it? In this particular
Yes,
scenario playing out. So they will
yes,
go in there and wipe that space out, come what may. And then because they control the media space as well, the way the narrative will be rebranded going forward, they will get the victory and get the narrative as well, because they have to get both in order to hold
yes,
on to that space. They have to get the victory
exactly.
militarily and win the narrative as well.
Have to. 100% correct in what you're saying. It has to be now. So at that level now, the only way to challenge that is to question, is to find a flaw in the person dominating the moral high ground. So to say, like, okay, you don't deserve to be sitting there because, and they'll say, okay, I am sitting in the moral high ground, I am dominating the throne, I have the right to rule not only this piece of land and to stay here, but since I have the moral high ground, I can rule the world. Because if I'm perceived to be dispensing justice and to be the arbiter of justice and righteousness, right, then I can overrule your government. I can start criticizing your culture and your laws, and then and your narrative. So it can only expand until till it dominates the whole. Well, it's got it there through the hegemony. Words like hegemony. So so if it is true that America is so powerful because it is the most righteous and nobody can think of a better form of government, right? If you cannot think of a better form of government than democracy, then they will overpower you. So therefore the question is, well, since you don't like what we are and what we do you have a better suggestion? And if you can't answer that question,
You say, I say three. Where this story might get interesting is if this thing carries on and we start to see the usual images that we see coming out of this sort of playbook, this sort of play set. If you
yes,
start to see all those images, women and children and whatnot, and then of course, the Arab world, they are quite sensitive to that sort of imagery. So if they recoil
yes,
from that, and then they decide to get involved to come and defend their brothers, which would then turn it not just into a Palestinian Israeli thing, but an Israeli Arab war thing. So the Arab war comes in, and then the Israel is outnumbered. Then the West comes in for a balance, and then it expands into an ugliness that it can turn into.
yes, but you see, that scenario you've painted it seems to be going on. It hasn't stopped. It's still going on. But every time that, because the only way the so-called Arab world can unite to counter is that they have to say there has to be a jihad. In other words, so the jihad, correct me if I'm wrong, or somebody can correct me in the chat, or whatever, but the jihad is what is basically the gives, it means that you can dominate the moral high ground. Yes,
No, it's a holy war. That's what it means. A
that's it.
jihad.
Yeah,
This sets the backdrop. The Turkish president Erdogan, he has come out over the last 24 hours or so to warn the Western powers not to get involved. The Saudis, they've broken diplomatic negotiations with Israel, and then of course there's the Iranians there as well. So the
Right.
narrative that the Israelis are pushing forward is that a good 70% of Hamas Palestinian activities are being backed and funded by the Iranians. So they're supplying, according to what is coming out, they're supplying them with weaponry, they're supplying them with financing, they're supplying them with logistics, etc. So that narrative is coming out of Tel Aviv. And when that narrative comes out of Tel Aviv, that tells you that they are sensitizing you to the prospects of them going after Iran as well. So there's the possibility that they'll be throwing missiles towards Iran's direction in the nearest future. And if they do that, Iran is suitably equipped to throw the missiles back. So there's a real prospect of these things spiraling out of control.
Yes, that's right. And you see, when lives are being lost and children and people have to be buried, you see, it moves. It still goes back into the spiritual. Why are we fighting? That's the question going to go to the popular. Why did my son and daughter die? Did they die for a just cause, the moral high ground? To die for the moral high ground is acceptable. Yeah, but to die for just money or something like that is a waste of life. It's perceived by the mothers, the children, the families as a waste of life. You can't put your children into the military to go and fight, to die for foolishness. There has to be direct connection with the moral high ground and the concept of righteousness and the throne of morality in order to fight.
Yeah, but I see three. That concept of righteousness is another sub play in this plot that a lot of people are not paying heed to. You know that Arabian Islamic culture is based around honor and everything else. They place honor and religion, so they place their integrity, their honor, and religion over and above everything else. You live in the UK. You've seen the honor killings that some girl she's been you know what I'm talking. Yeah. So they place so they have that currency, and then when that currency comes into play in terms of how the Palestinians are being brutalized because they see themselves under one hegemony, both in terms of culture and religion. So if they see the and all of these things, by the way, will play out on all their local media. So it will play out on the Iranian media, the Qatari media, and all of the Middle Eastern media, even more graphically than it plays out on our media. So they will whip them up into a frenzy, and once that frenzy has reached its crescendo, then you see it play out. We're on the cusp of something very dark if this is not managed properly.
Yes, and but here's the thing. You see, children and people dying is not sufficient for anything to happen. I don't think what it is. So to go to war just because there's been a lot of bloodshed and deaths is not enough. They've got to get the moral high ground. You see, because so here's the counter. If all this death has taken place and bloodshed has taken place by somebody who did not have the moral high ground, then it's not enough. You've got to be seen to be going up against the core faith. The real power is jihad. Jihad is the only kind of word that captures that can generate enough power. There has to be cause or good reason for jihad. If you cannot think or find a good reason for jihad, then you're finished. You'll never go up against.
No, you don't necessarily. You don't necessarily have to go as because the jihad is the furthest of the extreme of the Islamic armory. So that's the furthest of the extreme. And when you're talking about a jihad, that's a religious calling, not a cultural calling. So if you're declaring a jihad, then you are essentially rallying the 1.8 billion Muslims that we have globally.
Right.
So that's a jihad. So that's an overkill. And that jihad, by the way, it might well come further down the line because the world is on the cusp of a religious war. But this particular sub-play within that sub-region is a cultural thing, which because there's a familiar between the Palestinians and the rest of the Arab world. So their brutalization spills into the entirety of that Arab world. So it's more of a cultural space at the moment and not the furthest extremes of a jihad.
Yes, but okay, yes, correct. So okay, so you're correct in what you said about jihad, but you see, the question is it not a religious war already? You see, because earlier on we had a discussion where Pan State was saying the reason why America is so strong, why the West is so powerful, the reason why they're so powerful is because of their righteousness. And that righteousness, right, it's expressed in the aspect of freedom, liberty, and democracy. And he's saying that freedom, liberty, and democracy are perceived as being aspects of the Christian faith and the Christian God. So when they're pushing freedom, pushing democracy, pushing liberty,
freedom
they're
is not
saying that it's their God.
No. Freedom is not a Christian trait. It's a human trait. You know the human instinct. It abhors being contained in any way. Even to discipline your child, he will rebel against it because he feels that you are imposing on his being. So freedom is not. I'm not quite sure why quite the West are trying to patent things like freedom and human rights. So things like freedom and human rights, they are fundamental human instincts. They're not unique or peculiar to any ideology or any demography or any political thrust. These are, who doesn't want to be free? Who doesn't want to have free expression?
Right, but you just said it there.
It's
you
human.
just said it. You said, why are they trying to patent? Why are they trying to patent freedom and democracy and they are painting cities. That they are managing. They're giving the impression quite successfully that it is an aspect of the West. So the West is Christian foundation, and freedom, liberty, and democracy has a Christian tint to it. They've successfully managed to attach Christianity to the West, to democracy, to freedom. You put they're all in one basket. So you're correct in what you're saying. It's human, but they're saying to be human is to have Western values. Only Western values conserve humanity. That's their marketing.
Yeah, but that's a total nonsense. Surely, I'm sure you know that. And it's an exercise in futility as well. It's an impossibility. Yeah, of course. How can you claim that you are the bastion, the custodian of free speech and human rights? Every human and every human type knows what the entitlement is. I instinctively and innately know that I'm entitled to walk down the street, and you, ICC, cannot place your hands on me. So I know that if I'm a Mongolian, I know that if I'm a Japanese, and I know that if I'm Ugandan. So it's not anything. It's just the ridiculousness of some of these ludicrous claims that you are the bastion of free speech. Who doesn't know that they're entitled to free speech? The moment you are able to formulate a thought, you are already exercising free speech. You know?
Right.
So, I mean, all this champion of free speech, this is nonsense, is it not?
Yeah, but you see, the way you're saying it, right, you say, okay, it's nonsense, it's ridiculous, right? All these words you're throwing at it, right? But they're going to say, their counter that is say, well, wait a minute, but who is more, the reason we are more powerful than you, because we're better at delivering free speech, human rights, and all these kind of things. What have you got to counter us? You are weaker than us, so therefore that's proof that we're the righteous ones. We're more righteous than you. So we don't accept the ridiculous.
Let me tell you what I think is going on at IC3. I think essentially is that eternal battle for global supremacy is parked under a different narrative. The Arabian world park it under their Islamist something, which they use religion for a global hegemony. The Western space parks it under this libertarian sort of ideology, which has no form or shape, either in how they live in their spaces or how they interact with the world. But that's their narrative for global supremacy. So the Chinese come under their Confucius system, the Japanese come under some technological hub, the Russians come under whatever philosophy, but it's a narrative really for global dominance. But I just recall from it the idea that I'm the bastion of I'm promoting free speech round. What it doesn't even cohere. It doesn't even stand with logic. What does that even mean? It's just word salad. It's just gibberish, isn't it? Really?
No, it's not. It's not gibberish, because think about it. What you just said there. If the West have their narrative, right, and they have the dominant narrative, they can say that if you are part of us, we must preserve our way of life, yes, and we must be free to conserve our way of life, our narrative. Yeah. So freedom means the way we look at the world. and we must be free to live what we believe in, and everybody else is trying to oppress us. So we have to defend
No.
ourselves.
That's the wrong way round. No, nobody is trying to repress the West from living however they choose to live. They are trying to superimpose their way of life on other spaces, so that they create a pyramid which they sit at the top, which is the structure we have at the moment.
Right.
Who is coming to America to tell you not to eat your burger and grow as fat and obese as you can? Nobody's doing
Right.
that, but they
Right.
want to parachute that lifestyle onto your cultural spaces in order that
Yes.
they have dominion over you remotely, and that is the
Yes.
set play.
Yes. And I think it was Bush that was saying that we have to fight them over there so that we don't have to fight them here. Yeah. So they're saying in order to conserve, he's saying basically to conserve America, the Western values, we have to send out our soldiers abroad to attack the enemies of democracy, the enemies of liberty, the enemies of freedom out there, because we don't want them coming and their dark self coming here. Yes. So that's how they justify.
Is that not even an outlandish statement to make, that you are going to fight the enemies of freedom? And by the way, freedom does have enemies. The Arabian world, they are enemies of freedom. A lot of cultures are enemies of freedom, but including the Western space, enemies of freedom too. So there's nobody really fighting for humanity, certainly not. It's just narratives packed under whichever hegemony that is looking to superimpose.
Right.
It's a battle for global resources, but more to it, global dominance. And the people that have the global dominance, they use their military might to continue to hold situation. But of course,
Yes.
you cannot just say, "I am going to Iraq to blow them up and steal their oil." You cannot say that, can you? Really?
No.
So you have to tell us that you are going there to liberate them, so that
Yes.
you can steal their oil and keep it for yourself.
Right. So therefore, this hegemony, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that whoever has the best, well, would you agree with this then? Whoever has the best story, whoever has the best narrative, deserves to sit and rule the world.
No,
If
I
you
don't
can come
agree
up with
with
a
that.
story,
I don't agree with that. Whoever has the biggest muscles win. Might is right. That's what's playing out. Might is right.
yes, but might requires you to be sitting in the chair, the moral high ground. Might is only is downstream. It's downstream from that chair, that seat of the moral imperative, the moral high ground. If you can sit there, the might comes to you. It's the power comes to you. You got to get the correct narrative, the correct story. Then the people believe your story. Yes, and then if the people believe your story, believe your narrative, then they will give you their time and strength. And if the people are giving you their time and energy, they're giving it to you, then that's how you accumulate power. So it comes to you.
Have you ever heard this phrase, IC3, build it and they will come. Build it and they
Yes,
will come.
100%.
Okay, you've heard that. So build
Yes.
it and they will come, and that's what plays out. So imagine for a moment, Nigeria has some sort of military might. It just happened on some global dominating might. And then it goes off to the United States and conquers the place and seizes charge of that space. So it goes just with the brutishness of might to seize charge of the United States. So it succeeds in doing that. And then
Right.
having succeeded in doing that, it takes a hold of the American media space and continues for a period of 6 months to pump out narratives that why they now being in charge of the United States is a good thing. Within
Yeah.
that 6 months period, the totality of the United States it's a Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Is a so within that 6 months period, the whole of the United States will park behind the narrative that actually Nigeria now coming to have dominion over their country is actually for the greater good. It's just controlling the narrative, but first the might and then the narrative.
Okay, right. I understand that picture, but I see it slightly different. Let's put it this way: the length and expansion of any state, how long the state will last and how much territory the state controls depends on the foundational story or narrative of that state. The quality. So a good narrative, a good story, the state may last for 5 years. A poor narrative or a poor story, foundation of a kingdom or nation or state, it may last for 50 years. A good one, it may last for 500 years. You see, so it all depends on the quality of the narrative and the quality of the narrative. I'm saying, I'm just throwing it out there. Hear what you're saying. The quality of the narrative is directly related to social engineering and the policies and the laws. So the high quality laws, depending on the quality of your social engineering, enables the people to be healthy and live long lives and live happy lives, and therefore the kingdom or the state lasts longer. But if there's any flaws in your narrative, any flaws in your story, any flaws in your social engineering, then those flaws will grow and crash the kingdom or crash the state sooner or later. So I'm saying you talked about the might, like Nigeria. If Nigeria had a great military and then they could go over to America and dominate, and then 6 months to control the media, I'm saying my counter to what you're saying is that what is the quality of the narrative of the Nigerian itself? What is Nigeria?
The quality of the narrative doesn't really matter. I say three.
I'm telling you on that.
You know, whoever said the pen is mightier than the sword, that person should be tied to the stakes and shot. The sword is and always has been mightier than the pen. Because the sword first, then the pen. So the pen comes after the sword, not the other way around. So just go in there and brutishly take over whatever, and then through your dominion, you will set the narrative.
Okay, right. Okay, so you and I are going to have a good tennis match now, because no, you're wrong, and I'll have to explain why. The sword, just like the gun, right? Whoever controls the story or the narrative that is in the mind of the person who has the weapons controls the weapons indirectly. So it's the power is not in the sword, because the person wielding the sword has to be told who to attack with the sword. The person who has the gun, the people who have the gun, somebody has to tell them where to point the gun, where to point the cannon, and when to pull the trigger. Because if there's no order, if you have 100 people with guns, if you don't have order, they'll all start shooting each other. Yeah? So you have to have a good narrative. Then you can tell the 100 people with the guns where to go and which direction to point the guns and when to pull the trigger. So the pen is mightier than the sword and is mightier than the gun. So that's my counter to what you just said there.
I'm sure you know who Mike Tyson is.
Yes.
Do you know what his most do you know what his most famous quote is?
Yes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
So there it is, right there. So what does that tell you?
Right. That tells me that you can see that Mike Tyson, who controls the ring and the stadium? If Mike Tyson, he's got the glove, he's got the punch, he's got the fists, yeah, but he does not. He can't fight unless he's authorized to fight. Yes. So it's the same thing. Having the glove, having the fist is the same thing as having the rifle, is the same thing as having the sword. He who controls the pen, the contract. Mike Tyson's not going to fight for nothing, right? There's a price, right? Who sets up the contract? Yeah, the pen. You see? So yes, I understand what you're saying, but when you go deeper into what you've said, it still goes back down to the pen. So you're talking about the boxing glove, you talked about the sword, you talk about the gun, right? It still goes down to the pen.
All right. I say 3. I have to bounce in a moment. A couple of errands to run. Just a round off monologue from you, and then unless somebody else wants to come in to take it on, then we might or Kaizo, and then we might just round it off and go on to another.
Yeah. I'm gonna get something to eat now, actually. So
So have the final word.
Yeah, but it's a great conversation, wonderful conversation, and I'll just praising the conversation and the space, and I think the secret, the solution, I think was mentioned earlier on, is in black theology. I think that's 2 words to end on there. Black theology is the solution for Africa. And I'll see you all till next time. Great conversation.
Sorry, I was rattling on and I didn't know I had muted myself. So I was saying thank you, thank you, IC3, rather, and especially thanks to Ike or Guilherme, who has sponsored rather this particular stream. One man went to threw a pebble in the water as well, but the real splash as ever, Ike or Guilherme. So thank you to everyone. Stay tuned in. Make sure you're subscribed to the One Man Went to More platform if you're not already. And make sure you're subscribed to the Kaizorian Empire if you're not already. There is no more exciting space on our cyberspace than those 2 spaces. If you're subscribed to those 2 platforms, then your social media needs will be satiated fully and in abundance by those 2 spaces. So subscribe to One Man Went to More. The link is there. Subscribe to Kaizorian Empire. The link is there. So we'll leave it here. But before we leave it here, the word of the day. So the takeaway of the day, the wisdom of the day. So let me leave you with this: fat-bottomed girls make the world go round. And that is, if you've ever wondered what a truism is, that's an example of a truism right there. So a truism: fat-bottomed girls make the world go round. So carry on the conversation in the comment section, and peace.